and put some money on them.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? You're in with your boy, Nightclub 94. You can look back here again to another special podcast. No draft today, just chatting pro wrestling, coming up with the chats. We guess we can continue what we were chatting off air. So before I started this, we were talking about title designs. Some of our favorite championship designs, some of our favorite league championship designs, and we were talking about how basic the titles are today. Besides the IC title and the US title, there's the only ones that have their own designs. But like the women's title looks just like the WWE title. You know what I mean? The women's title looks just like the Universal title. Like all these belts in NXT. NXT has their own designs too. But I wish they would. If there was one thing they were going to change, there are two things that I always wanted to see change in wrestling, especially in WWE wise. Besides creating new stars, that would be the main thing. But I want to see them get rid of the gimmick pay-per-views. I hated the gimmick pay-per-views so much. I hate the Hell in a Cell and the Elimination Chamber and the TLC. I guess you can do Money in the Bank now because women have Money in the Bank ladder matches, so I guess it might be too hard to do Money in the Bank at WrestleMania with 2 ladder matches. It's possible to do it, but I'll be fine if they kept the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, but the Elimination Chamber, so TLC, that has to go. I hated it so much. And the title designs, like, why can we – and the stage design, too. Like, can we bring back stage designs, too? Is that too much to ask for? Like, when you have a pay-per-view, can we have, a tank in the corner or something like that? Or, how they used to have in movie case. You remember the SummerSlam when they had, like, the big, the big circle thing? Mm-hmm. They had, like, little tank. That was dope. The dopest sets they ever had. I wish they would bring those back. You know what I'm saying? Like, bring those designs back because the stages are basic, the titles are basic, everything's so basic with WWE. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, they made a couple of changes to some titles that I didn't hate, and actually I kind of liked. 2 of them, the United States title, I kind of enjoy, and the Intercontinental. I don't think that they're ugly at all. I think that I think at some point those 2 titles were kind of watered down from a product standpoint or just a competition outlook, and I feel that once they changed the design of those 2, I feel like it's been a little bit more taken seriously. I thought Sami Zayn had a great run with his. Bobby Lashley is doing his thing. And I feel like when they come out with it, it looks like a real title. I always liked the U.S. title before that, not the spinner one, the original one. I didn't mind it at all. And the IC obviously has its prestige and glory and stuff like that, no doubt about it. But I don't know. I don't really mind the Intercontinental design as much as some people are really hating on it. Maybe it's just me. Like, do you guys like it or?
I like my critique on the Intercontinental title is very small. I enjoy the current design with a black strap instead of a white. That's just my thing. That was the way it worked out. And that's the one just before this one. The one right now, I think is disgusting. I think the current Intercontinental Championship design is absolutely horrific. I am disgusted. That belt that is in existence right now,
actually,
it looks like a trinket. It's ugly.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's just the US one that I like. Yeah. The old Intercontinental title was probably way better.
The Intercontinental Championship that Cody Rhodes brought back, that was in existence all the way up until recently. I really enjoyed, with the exception of the white belt. I like a black strap more than a white strap. That's just a personal preference. That was cool. This current IC belt, it looks like it's hot garbage to me. Hot garbage.
It looks good in the light, though. Maybe I was just blinded by that. I don't know. Now I took a closer look at it. I'm like,
your opinion is valid, bro. I mean, if you like it, you like it. I don't
know if I do anymore. I think I like
the imagining of the belts have overridden the creativity of the belts. If that makes any sense. Like, you know what? I'm Vince McMahon, or I'm the powers that be, and I'm imagining this larger than life championship that's going to make everybody turn their heads. Meanwhile, if you want to take it back a few years, the original Stone Cold belt, the one that Hogan and Savage were wearing, or even the one when Austin won the title at WrestleMania 14, that wasn't too bad. They took the winged eagle to a little bit bigger level and kind of changed it from like more like an oval to maybe like a bigger circle. That was all good. The WWE Championship, we were talking off the air. I got to give this props to Malik so I don't take his point away. It's basic. The Intercontinental Championship is ugly, and I'd agree with you, Mountie, in saying that the only belt that they've changed recently that actually looks better than the old version is the United States.
I dig that. I actually like the new version of the U.S. title personally. That's just me. The IC belt is, the IC belt is, it's whatever. But it's not like, I don't think it's terrible.
It's ugly. Good God Almighty.
I don't think it's terrible to me, but it's not like great. It's not a title. It's not a title I would buy. To say that, I'm like,
there you go.
I'm not gonna spend money on it, but I want to ask you guys real quick because we got the Royal Rumble coming up. Do you guys have any predictions right now? I feel like, to me, this is maybe like the first year that is kind of unpredictable in a way because usually there's a clear-cut favorite. Like last year I picked Drew McIntyre. I was like, McIntyre's probably gonna win. He got the momentum. The year before I picked Seth Rollins. I picked Shinsuke the year before that.
Then you need to just tell us who's going to win this year, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so you want to know my predictions? Okay, so originally, this is I think I'm changing my opinion on this. So originally, I had Brock Lesnar winning. I said Brock Lesnar is going to be number 30. He's coming back. He's going to win it. He's going to because
it's still very possible.
It's still very possible because
it's
I want to believe that Goldberg is not going to beat Drew McIntyre. So I'm going to have faith in that. But even though
why are they doing the match?
Even though hear me out. Even though WWE always they may do something good, they always gotta do something to piss everybody off. And Lesnar winning will just make everybody just irate, like, oh my gosh. And the original idea I had was that, you know what? He's gonna win the belt at WrestleMania, and then Paul Heyman's gonna have one guy on Raw who's the champion and one guy on SmackDown who's the champion, and he's gonna have two guys who are basically running the company. But then I was putting some thought into it, some real deep thought. I was like, well, that's Lesnar could come back. It's possible. It's a possible thing, but we don't know for sure. I think Daniel Bryan could be a favorite. They actually owe that man a Rumble win, if you ask me, because there's 2 years.
Oh yeah,
there's 2 years in a row he could have won it. But now that I was thinking more about it, and I was like, you know what? I made a video earlier, and somebody made a comment on my video, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? That would make a lot of sense, and I think. The Royal Rumble, the winners for this year could be for the men's is The Fiend, and for the women's it would be Alexa Bliss because they're together.
What? You remember? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your point.
They're together and they're a thing, and I think that could be a possibility because we haven't seen The Fiend in a while, and we know he's coming back eventually because they've already been teasing it. And Randy got shot with the fireball and everything, and Randy said he's going to be in the Rumble. Alexa Bliss said she's going to be in the Women's Rumble. So I'm like, you know what? I could see Alexa winning. Challenge Asuka because she already. I don't know if you guys seen the little highlight on Raw, but she beat Asuka on Raw, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can see her challenging for the belt at WrestleMania, and don't be surprised, people, if they add Charlotte to that match too, because Charlotte's gonna be doing something. So if they add Charlotte to the match, don't be surprised.
Yeah, maybe, but she might. It depends how long the Lacey Evans feud will go on.
Right, and that could be a match for WrestleMania too.
By the way, creepy.
But for the men's, not creepy Ric Flair, he probably loving it. But
let me. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
For the men's, I think the Fiend will come back and go after Orton. But here's what I was thinking about. So the Fiend wins, he challenges Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Now, obviously, if the Fiend wins, that separates his feud from Orton. Mm-hmm. And the idea was when I was thinking about it, because the dude who made the comment about it on my video,
Orton against Edge.
Yeah, because Orton still has beef with Edge. Yeah, so I was like, you know what, Edge is going to come back if it's too. And if Edge comes back at the Rumble, that puts the feud with Edge and Orton. That leads him to WrestleMania. The Fiend wins the Rumble. If the Fiend wins the Rumble, that separates him from Randy Orton, and that leads focus to Drew McIntyre, which will be a big challenge for Drew McIntyre to win. You know what I mean? Now, even though I really don't want the Fiend to win the belt, I don't think he needs the belt, to be honest. Because to win the belt, you have to lose the belt, and I think the version of the Fiend doesn't really need to lose unless it really makes sense. When he's Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, he can lose any matches he wants. That doesn't matter. But I think that could be a possibility. I think they're going to put the straps on Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt because they have the little thing going on right now.
Maybe.
I think that could be a possibility for those two winning because some people, some people said Keith Lee and some people said Sheamus. Some people are thinking Big E. I don't see them. I still see them. Like I like Keith Lee, but I don't see them.
I saw it before Big E won the title. I saw Sheamus before this Goldberg thing happened. Like I understand that there were some picks of mine too. And if you remember from last week's podcast with you, Malik, me, and Kyron, I mentioned The Fiend. I didn't mention Alexa Bliss. I like that because if you remember, we were talking about it and we were like, who the hell is going to be on the other side of the spectrum? Because it's like, okay, we have a feeling that we might see Sasha Banks go up against a, I don't know, is Bianca on SmackDown?
I said Bayley was going to win originally, the female.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, look, we had some ideas there. We had, like, I said The Fiend because I was like, that's something that people could probably get behind. And then Kyron made up, and you and Kyron made up that point where it was like, yeah, I just don't know if he really needs to be in the title picture. I don't know if he's that kind of character. And I'm like, you know what? It's true. Like, you should, you have a character in The Fiend. Sean, you'll probably appreciate this. Like, I mentioned that character can be legendary and we don't even know it yet. Like, if you want to talk about maybe challenging Undertaker's streak, well, this is the character to do it with. If you wanted to do it, like, think about that for a minute. Like, if you have people that are not really super involved in wrestling, but it's like, hey, look, next thing you know, he strings together some wins, 2, 3, 4 WrestleManias in a row. People might start talking. People might start being, hey, let's see if The Fiend wins another one. Let's see if he's going to catch Taker. Like, this is something that could stretch out for like 19, 20 years. And we don't even know it right now. And all that to say, he might be one of those characters, like Undertaker admitted, that's always better without the title. And I always felt like Bray Wyatt was kind of better without the title.
Yeah, some characters characters don't need the belts. Taker, like I said, Taker never really needed the belt. I'm saying you
enjoyed the chase.
Taker was always going to be fine either way. Even like today, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but even today, I'm like, bro, I still don't think they should ever put the belt on Kane. I was like, bro, Kane didn't need the belt. To me, he didn't at that time, because he lost it the next night. But I was like, bro, like, Kane.
Oh man, that was almost worse than not winning it ever. Like,
right, because he won it and then he lost it the next night. So
I would have rather. I totally agree. I would have rather had Kane win the title one time and have like a 1-year reign than to do that. Like, you have it for a night, you have it for this, a week, whatever, a pay-per-view. It totally waters down the big red machine all the time, in my opinion.
I couldn't disagree more. When I think about that,
You can disagree.
I disagree. I thought the King of the Ring 98 deal was perfectly done. I think
Agreed.
I think it was done good. I just don't like.
No, but
Kane was just so dominant back then. Kane was just so dominant back then.
Even the next night thing, I don't think it didn't kill. It transitioned Kane. It didn't derail Kane. It transitioned Kane. After the Stone Cold loss the next night on Raw, he eventually started. That's when he kind of refocused himself on other things. He ended up becoming like the lost soul that needed the orderlies to come from the nut house. And then he went into 99. He started teaming up with DX and X-Pac, and it just completely took his character to another level. And you got him what so many others have not gotten, at least one title reign. Now, we know that he would eventually become world champion again many years later. You know what? He can say one night title reigns, 1 week title reigns, whatever. Think about this. Thank God that Andre the Giant won the title at Saturday night or the main event in 1988. Because you know what? There's many others that never had that opportunity. The Kurt Hennings, the Ravishing Rick Rudes. Like, I don't care if they were a champion for 5 minutes. Kane had his night, and then let's get back to regularly scheduled programming, put the title back on Stone Cold, and I don't think it diminished Kane at all. I really don't. I think Kane diversified. Oh, that's a word. I've been reading my books. He diversified after that loss. He started becoming more layered. Because you got to understand this. Since we're talking about Kane, you can automatically your mind goes to the Undertaker. Who has more layers than the Undertaker? You know what I'm trying to say? The Undertaker has layer after layer incarnation after incarnation. That loss to Stone Cold in June of '98 began the reinvention of Kane. Like, okay, Kane lost, but Kane's a former world champion. Now Kane is going to be in the world title picture for good now. Because if you think about it, him getting a title shot in the first place didn't make much sense. Where'd that title shot come from?
It didn't. I think what Mountie said would make a lot of sense. I think if you had Kane had a good run as the champion for a while.
Did he ever have a good run?
Then when he lost because of it, just imagine, say Kane, he won the belt in June, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if Kane held the belt up to WrestleMania and he did all he could have dropped it to Austin. What was that, 98? So 99, he could have dropped it to Austin, in the main event. Obviously we know it would be Rock in that spot, Rock and Austin, which is great, but he could have dropped it, in the main event of WrestleMania, whatever. Because Kane not only would have got a WrestleMania main event, which he never got, the crowd still would have went crazy like they did that night when Austin won, because they were gonna go crazy when Austin won, whether or not it didn't matter who he beat. They were gonna go crazy when he won the belt again. But I just think he could have had a legit title shot. That's what I'm saying. He could have had a legit run as the champion.
You cannot book that way, because if you book that way, that erases so much history. Now, believe me, I am the biggest critic of WWE booking that there ever could be, especially in the last 5 years. But if you think about that summer, if Kane holds on to the title, think about how many things don't happen. You don't
we never get the Rock heel turn and everything.
You don't have Highway. You don't forget that. You don't even have Highway to Hell, Undertaker, Austin, which was an amazing feud with them being tag champions, and then Kane, like I said, diversifying. Kane tagging up with
diversifying.
There you go.
Diversifying.
Kane tagging up with Mankind. You don't have, as you mentioned, you don't have Rock. You don't have Mankind as world champion. You have nothing. You don't have anything. A big portion, a big piece of the pie of history gets cut out if Kane holds on to that title. The one of the most, in the modern era, it's kind of hard to say modern era now because it's over 20 years ago, but in the modern era, one of the most important pay-per-views in history is Survivor Series Deadly Games. That never happens if Kane is the champion.
Right, it doesn't. I don't know. I just felt like to me, I just felt like if you're gonna have it for a day, because you're right. You made a point. He really didn't make sense to get a title shot anyway, because it just came out of nowhere. So there was no really anything to it. It was like Kane. It was like they just went to creative one day. It's like, the Kane's the next challenger. For the belt. So it's like, I don't know. I just felt like if he wasn't gonna have a legit title run, he shouldn't have had the belt. That's how I see it.
Let's take it a step further. If Kane doesn't win that match at King of the Ring, rebook that match for me at King of the Ring.
Well, they backed themselves into a corner because if Kane lost, he had to set himself on fire. So obviously he's not. Obviously, Kane's not going to set himself on fire. Well, they should have never made. They should have never made that stipulation. Obviously, nothing was going to touch after what we saw between Undertaker and Mankind. That was just insane on itself. So nothing was going to touch that. But they still came out later in that match. Well, maybe you could have did something with, you could have set up a feud between Mankind and Kane for maybe Mankind cost Kane the title by accident or something like that. Saying Kane now blames Mankind for Kane now wants to go after Mankind, because they were both psychotic characters. They end up being tag champs later, and so it can make a lot of sense. But they backed themselves into a corner with that, because if Kane lost, he had to set himself on fire. So obviously, which obviously it got more views because you're looking at the match because Kane has a mask on, so obviously going to bleed first of all. And you're like, okay, well, Kane loses, he got to set himself on fire. Well, how's he going to do that? How are they going to do that?
With you, bro. As a 12-year-old kid, I'm listening to the stipulation about him setting himself on fire, and I'm like, okay, I guess Stone Cold's losing the title.
Right, he's not going to set himself on fire. Okay. They could have done it, and now we saw, when they did the Fiend, when they set the Fiend on fire, but that only worked because they didn't have fans there. That couldn't work if they had fans there, because you can't edit and do all that stuff. So it's like, how you gonna set the man? Now they did the Inferno match, but obviously it was just the arm. It wasn't the entire body. So I just feel like they could have booked it a little different. Just the same when we're talking about how they could have rebooked the Screw Job. I'm saying, like, there could have been different ways you could have done this booking to make a lot of sense. Because
don't get me started on that one.
When Kane had the belt, Like Kane had the belt, which cool, but then he lost. I don't know. To me, it just felt like the same thing they did with Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder wins the belt at WrestleMania. The next night he loses. I'm like, why do you have him win the belt at WrestleMania and then he loses the next night? Like you gave him that moment.
I never
Like,
liked
honestly,
that.
It was cool for Zack Ryder. He got the moment. It was cool. I'm sure he was happy.
But let him have the full moment. I'm with you. Like let him have a fucking title defense. Let him have a fucking pay-per-view main event. Even Like, come on, are you telling me that people would have been pissed off if that at the next pay-per-view, Payback or whatever is after WrestleMania, that like Zack Ryder has like a main event, Intercontinental Championship defense? Nobody would have been mad. Everybody would have been like, "Oh, that's great."
There's a difference between a feel-good story and a charity case. Zack Ryder.
Remember though, people.
Zack Ryder's moment was that U.S. title storyline with Kane and John Cena. That was his moment.
Yeah, but that storyline didn't help him anyway.
So no,
that storyline was terrible.
It did help him. That's the first time WWE fans knew his name. That was he.
I gotta disagree with you because it didn't.
Other than the edge heads,
he got the groundswell. I don't want to disrespect him. He got the groundswell by being the internet champion. Okay, right. That led to him getting the opportunity. That storyline with Eve and John Cena and Kane was pretty darn good.
Oh, it was not, because Zack Ryder did not benefit from that storyline anyway. He either got destroyed by Kane every week, and then the girl that he fell in love with turned on him. It didn't benefit him anyway. It was cool that he was in the story because he was on television.
He didn't win the storyline, but it still benefited him.
It benefited him because he was on TV. He wasn't in catering. Right. The storyline didn't get him over.
Agreed.
Because every week he got destroyed by Kane. Every single week. Because John Cena's not going to get his ass beat by Kane every week. He's John Cena. Right. Zack Ryder was taking the bait for that. And then the girl that he was so madly in love with, she turned heel on him. I'm like, bro, this did not benefit him in any way. It only made him look worse. And then after the storyline, he goes back to catering.
What, did he have the title throughout the whole time too?
No, he had the U.S. title for a little bit, and then he lost it. Then he lost
exactly.
it. Right
around. I was going to say, like, that's kind of what they do now, right? That's kind of what they do now. They make somebody a mid-card champion, and they just have him lose and like drop out, be embarrassed. I'm like,
he won the belt. He won the belt at TLC, and then I don't remember how long he had it, but right around Royal Rumble, that's when they started building up the Kane, because Kane came back with the mask, and he was going after John Cena. And Cena, Zack Ryder were buds and everything. So that's when they started doing the little storyline with it and everything. Mm-hmm. But then, Zack Ryder was Kane was coming after Zack Ryder for a while. And it was cool for a little bit, but Zack Ryder never got the edge over because he was getting destroyed every week. He was getting chokeslammed through the stage.
Crap out of him every week. That's true.
He got chokeslammed through the stage. This man was in a wheelchair, threw him off the stage in a wheelchair. I'm like, bro, like they're just killing this guy. And then he's so mad with Eve. He catches Eve kissing John Cena, and Eve's like, "Oh, Zack, I just want to be friends." And the next week she turns heel, and then at WrestleMania she kicks him in the nuts at WrestleMania and just turned on him completely.
The more you talk, the more I realize Zack Ryder did not. Yeah, it was.
Sean, you know what Malik just did to you? That's what you did to me with my IC title. I'm like, I kind of like it. You're like, oh yeah, come here for a second, and on the ground, and I'm gonna step on you.
He just destroyed my whole logic.
Yeah, I know.
And look, the only reason I say that is because I was never crazy about Zack Ryder, but I had a friend of mine back then.
Every move. You sure? You sound like a big fucking fan to me.
No, my friend Isaiah. This is back when he was watching wrestling all together, and he was a huge Zack. He loved Zack Ryder, man, and he was so I remember him being so mad because we actually watched that WrestleMania together because we had to see, Rock versus Cena was the main event and everything. So it was he came over, we ordered it, and we watched it. And I'll never forget his reaction to when she low blowed him. He was like, "What the hell? They're destroying my man Zack Ryder, bro." And he got. I made a little series on my TikTok. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was about superstars that WWE dropped the ball with. And I did one about Zack Ryder because Zack Ryder, even though WWE may not have looked at him as championship material, bro, he did all the right things, man. This man got himself over on the internet. When he was in catering, he became the internet champion, got over on the internet so he can get on television. They finally put that storyline. He's in a storyline. Okay, cool. But then the storyline doesn't even benefit him in any way. He's getting beat up every week by this monster Kane. And of course, John Cena, like I said, John Cena not going to be the one getting his ass beat by Kane. So John Cena ends up beating Kane, but after John Cena beats Kane, there's nothing there anymore. And then he falls in love with this girl, and of course the girl don't even want him. She wants something to do.
Here's the thing, you know.
He didn't even get the storyline smash, man.
No, yeah, maybe not.
Here's the thing with Ryder. Now that he was free agent, whatever you want to call him, and now that he debuted with Impact this week under a different name, Matt Cordova, I think it was, right?
Cordova.
Now we're gonna see a different side of him. Now we're gonna see what is, what can he do? What can he deliver? And we'll see. We'll see firsthand if he is the man that we all think that he could have been or could still be. He's still in good shape. He's got a good look. I don't know if I love the whole cape with the circle. I don't know. Whatever. That's super minor details. At the end of the day, it's what happens bell to bell sometimes, and also from a character standpoint. So I'm interested to see what Impact is going to do with him, and if they're going to give him that opportunity that, at the end of the day, he still rightfully deserves it, because this guy's paid his dues, man. He's paid his dues with WWE, and this could be another situation. You never know, like Drew McIntyre, where he's out there making a name for himself, Impact, this and that, whatever. Then he comes back, and then he's a major player. You never know. Look what happened with Drew, dude. Nobody saw that coming. I'm a huge McIntyre fan, massive. Ever since the Chosen One, I was like on him, and I always followed him when he got released. I knew where he went, Ring of Honor, Impact. Like, I knew what he was doing at all times, and I'm like, shit, he's gaining a lot of steam. And then next thing you know, he comes back, NXT's in attendance. I'm going crazy. I'm marking out at home by myself on my couch or whatever. Maybe I was with my brother. I was losing my shit. I'm like, fuck, he's back. This is crazy. He wins the fucking title. He's called up with Ziggler. I'm like, yo, man, he's going to win the Royal Rumble. And it was nuts. Like, I love what happened. That's a great story, man. Like, you guys should really watch that WWE 24 on him. It was really good. So good, man. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I've seen all the 24. So yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great one. And you never know. Like, Zack Ryder, this could be a second chance, man. Everybody deserves to get one.
But to be fair, though,
that he blew the first one, it's just that's how it is.
To be fair, though, when it comes to WWE, to be fair, though, he does have it, but to WWE, he doesn't have it. There are certain people that WWE look at and they're like, oh, you know what, he could be somebody, but they always like Drew McIntyre. Like, Vince McMahon came out and cut a promo on him. That Drew McIntyre didn't even know what he was going to say. He's like, I didn't even know he was going to say that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So they had high hopes for Drew McIntyre. He failed, got better, came back, and now he's WWE champion now. Look at him, he looks great, but I don't. We really. Even if Zack Ryder does great outside of WWE, right? He wins TNA title, goes to AEW, wins the AEW title, New Japan. Even if he came back to WWE, they still not gonna put the belt on Zack Ryder. I don't see them put the belt on Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder has a glass ceiling in WWE.
And he can't get. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault. So that's what I was trying to explain when I did the series of these people. Like I did one on Ryback. Like, I was never a huge Ryback fan, but people were trying to tell me like, oh, well, he was an unsafe worker. That's why he didn't see. I was like, bro, look, there are a lot of wrestlers that were unsafe in the ring. Goldberg ended the career of Bret Hart, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. He's hurt a lot of people. A lot of people have hurt people in the ring. My point was that Ryback was over. They had something right there. He was extremely over. He was getting great reactions. Remember, I was like, do you guys not remember that they gave the Hell in a Cell main event to Ryback over John Cena to face CM Punk and the Hell in a Cell? They obviously saw there was something there because he was getting crazy reactions. People were behind him, whether you liked him or not. I was never a big Ryback fan. He was decent to me at the most, but he had reactions. The Feed Me More, all that stuff. He was getting over. People were really behind him. He was main eventing pay-per-views, but the problem was that he was getting his ass beat by the Shield so much. He never got the advantage on the Shield because they were always beating him down. He got multiple world title shots, but never won the belt. He had Hell in a Cell against CM Punk. He had a TLC match against CM Punk. He had a triple threat match with CM Punk for the belt. Like, he had multiple title shots, but never won the belt. The same with Strowman. Like, bro, Braun Strowman, you had something with Braun Strowman. Something was there. They built him up so strong, and he was when he fucking flipped over that ambulance on television. Like, holy shit, this motherfucker just tipped over an ambulance. Bro, never seen that on WWE television. Like, well, there's something there. There's something there. If there was anybody to be like the next true monster in WWE, this guy has the look. he was there. And when they matched him up with Lesnar, you're like, oh, you know what? He's a legit threat to Lesnar. He's going to take the belt. And then they didn't pull the trigger on it.
I know. I was confused on that one too.
Rusev's another one too. Same with Rusev, man. There was 2 times they could do something with Rusev. There are a lot of people who like the version of Rusev when he was
Rusev Day.
Rusev Day. I like the Bulgarian Brute Rusev when he came. He was undefeated, and he was, the way they built him up when he first came. The man came out, and he was anti-American. He's representing Russia. He goes after Jack Swagger, right? That makes sense because Jack Swagger is all-American, so he's a true American. That makes sense. Crushes Jack Swagger. Then they had him crush Mark Henry and Big Show. Okay, there's 2 legends right there. He just crushed. Then they had him win the United States title. This guy is Russian. He's Bulgarian, but he's representing Russia, and he's crapping all over the United States, and he takes the United States Championship. That's ultimate heel heat right there. Okay, now he has the U.S. belt. Then you made him go after Cena. Now, obviously, we know what happened there with the Cena situation, but they had.
It was a great build, though. It was a great build at WrestleMania.
The way there was something there. He came out on a fucking take at WrestleMania. Like, oh man, this guy, he feels like a legit guy.
31, right? 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
came
was
out on a take. There was something there to me, but like they could have been. Obviously, you're gonna lose at some point. You're not gonna be undefeated forever. You know what I mean? So even if he lost to Cena at WrestleMania, okay, cool. But it's what you do after that loss. You know what I mean? And after that loss, he lost to Cena twice. And then after that, they put him in the feud with Roman, lost to Roman. So it's like, bro, like you had something there with Rusev when he was, because he was believable too. Because I remember when he was crushing people with the camel clutch, but they called it the accolade. I was like, bro, like they had something with this guy. This guy may have, because he came from nowhere. I didn't know him from NXT at all. I wasn't familiar with him. When he came up to the main roster, I was like, who's this Rusev guy?
He was like, wrestling barefoot like Yokozuna.
Yeah, like him and Umaga, like they were wrestling barefoot and everything. I'm like, they have something with this Rusev guy. And then he loses to John Cena. I was like, okay, you know what? He lost to John Cena at WrestleMania. Well, obviously he's going to lose at some point, but let me see what they do with him after WrestleMania.
Same thing with the Rusev story reminds me similar in some ways to Cesaro.
Yeah.
They had something with Cesaro too. U.S. champ, fucking killer. And to this day, from Mark Henry's words, arguably the strongest pound-for-pound wrestler on the whole roster. That's coming from Mark Henry, bro. You better believe that's a fucking strong fact. And the fact that, like, dude, I would love to see Cesaro get a push out of nowhere. Like, just do it. What do you have to lose, man? I just don't understand.
They had a chance.
And if you're not going to have heavyweight, start him off with something small again. And just build on that.
They had a chance when he won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, when he threw Big Show over the top and he won the 100 Battle Royal.
He had momentum. Remember the reaction?
Yeah, they had momentum right there. If anything, to me, I've heard rumors about this, but they said Cesaro wants to go down to NXT. Bro, if they put him in NXT, I already know Triple H going to make him gravy, bro. God, just put him in NXT, let Triple H do his magic, because, he'll instantly be over in NXT, so.
Yeah, and it's like you said on your video, though. It's like it's so counterintuitive or counterproductive that, like, Triple H builds the shit out of some of these superstars. Then they come up to the main roster and they don't do anything with them. And it's like, why do you think Balor's back down there? And they're doing the same thing with him again. They're trying to make it seem like he's this massive threat and this and that. And I guarantee you, if he gets called back up again tomorrow, he might have a little bit of a run, but
what really
bothers me? Like, they need to, I don't know, man. I don't know.
What really bothers me about this era? Us three, we come from it. You guys from the Attitude Era. I'm from the Ruthless Aggression era. But those 2 eras were not only the 2 best eras in wrestling, arguably. The reason those eras were so good because they built stars in those eras. Look all the stars that came from those eras. Steve Austin, The Rock, Kane.
They had to, though, right? They had to. But you know why they had to, Malik? The difference is the older guys were out the door. Competition had them. They had no fucking choice but to create these stars, or else they were going to go in the toilet. Now, my point is, they have the old stars. They have the rights to them. They always bring them back. They're under their umbrella. So why the fuck should they build their new stars? It sucks.
You have an opportunity where these things fall in your lap, where you have like a Dolph Ziggler becoming the sole survivor in 2014. It's like, I thought that was going to skyrocket him straight to the top. They did nothing with that. Like you said, Cesaro at WrestleMania 30, they did nothing with that. I mean, but there's little. See, the thing.
Damien Sandow.
Standouts.
Almost winning the Rumble, but then they give it to Big Show. You know, you could have given it to
I look at small things. To me, I'm very, very tactical when I think about star building. Little things like Cesaro, like you remember that Jack Swagger music that they had together? Like, na, 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 na. And it was like, see, to me, little things like this, you guys will laugh, but just bear with me for a second. You know how Cesaro does this thing right here?
Yeah.
The crowd, if you remember, the crowd would do this to the beat of the music.
Oh yeah,
little gimmicky things like that make superstars. Yeah. And to me, I remember saying the next night when they changed his music, I'm like, what in the hell are they doing? I was like, did you not see the entire Superdome crowd going like this to the beat of the song? Fandango, everybody's doing like this. They changed Fandango's music. Why? Why when something works? That's the thing that makes me angry. If you try something and it doesn't work, that's one thing. But why something's working?
It's like
you just do a complete 180 and say, you know what, it's working, so let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, it's like they want things to work, and then when it works, they're like, oh, we can't have that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand it. I do not understand it.
Yeah, gimmicks change is one thing, or if one guy's getting an ultimate push, like I still think that they should change Roman Reigns' music. You know, he's branching off. He's doing his thing as a heel. Like, give him his own persona. Why the spin-off of the Shield still? Fuck off. He got rid of the tactical laser tag vest. You know, like he got rid of that shit. Like, give him his own fucking theme already, please. And then he can keep that for 10, 12, 15 years or whatever. Like, enough's enough. And I agree with you, man. It's like sometimes they change the theme when it's fine, and then they don't change the theme when it needs to be done, you know?
They're ass backwards. They do, like that's why I said the errors. Go ahead.
You guys remember what I'm talking about? When Cesaro was like on fire, like the crowd would do like this.
He was doing the swing,
like to the beat of the music. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
It's the same with the, even though they just brought it back. The same with Nakamura. They changed as soon as he comes to the main roster. They changed his name. What changed his name for what? Why did you do that? Now they just brought it back. I'm like, bro, like, did you not see the reaction that people were singing with the song? Like, can people have that? Like,
it makes no sense.
Not as a heel. They didn't want that.
And that's why I don't know. That's why I don't understand the star part, because, like I said, we come from the era where they built stars. Even after the Attitude Era was over, when you enter the Ruthless Aggression era, okay, what? Stone Cold's retired, Rock's gone to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? They don't have Sting, they don't have Goldberg, they don't have all these guys. So okay, we got to build the next guy. Okay, well then you got Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Guerrero, Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, all those guys at their peak in that era. Edge, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but to your point, they had an opportunity. Let me give you guys something that I'm sure you'll agree with. You're going to think about it for a second. You'll be like, damn, Sean, you're right. Dolph Ziggler, 2014 Survivor Series. We're talking about 6 years later. The year just changed. 6 years later.
After the cash-in?
No, I'm talking about when he was the sole survivor of the Survivor.
This is when Sting made his debut and everything.
Sting debuted.
Oh, yeah.
For all intents and purposes, Dolph Ziggler should be a WrestleMania main event right now.
I agree. I've been a Ziggler fan all my life.
Years ago.
I've gone on record and said many times that Dolph Ziggler, to me, is the most underrated, underappreciated superstar ever. To me, in my opinion.
Yeah. Somebody was asking. Sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if I was Dolph Ziggler, after I saw the writing on the wall, okay, 2014, I'm the sole survivor. I'm the sole survivor of Sting. I'm of the Sting debut. I beat the Authority. John Cena kind of gave me his unofficial passing of the torch by coming out and putting his arm around me and walking me to the back. 6 months later, I'm not doing a damn thing but mid-carding Monday Night Raw. I would have asked my release.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you would have been hot.
That's why you could look at another one. Remember when they had the feud with The Miz? You know what I'm saying, for the IC belt. You know what I'm saying? That was, he got over there too, and that was great. But then, of course, he wins the belt, and of course, nothing happens after that.
And I want to touch on this because Landon Souza commented, and it's related. Rewatching some cash-ins. My favorite of all time was Orton cashing in against Daniel Bryan. Agreed, that was a great one.
That was a good one.
Everything was perfect. Triple H heel turn. I loved it. And we're not going to talk about that right now. And he says, what are some of yours? Is my pick the best? I definitely said Orton was one of my favorites, like top two. And the other one was Ziggler. Ziggler's cash in, bro, the night after Mania. That place went fucking crazy, man. Dude, listen to that. And then even though he won and he had the fucking feud with Del Rio and they flipped and they made Ziggler sort of a face and it seemed like Del Rio was being a heel at that point. And then, Ziggler had some concussion issues, whatever. And he had to drop the title. It was super unfortunate. But don't tell me that you couldn't have picked up that momentum when this guy came back. Don't tell me that. Yeah. You've done it with so many other talents. Like, why not? Like, Ziggler was and is a very valuable asset to the company. And I just don't agree with, like, this idea of, oh, well, that's his spot, and that's how it is. For some guys, yes, that's how it is. But I really think that sometimes every dog deserves to have, like, its day or push, It doesn't have to be a world title. Like, it just be like a U.S. title run or
your point.
Right now.
To your point, Miz, John Cena, that feud 2017, which led to the mixed tag at WrestleMania 33, that night should have been Cena versus Miz, one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Miz goes over, period.
That would have been a good one too. Yeah, that would have been a good one because he went over. He went over in the main event of WrestleMania and won him too. So yeah,
ridiculous. Ziggler, Miz. Now Miz, you can't really say they dropped the ball on Miz. Miz is a former world champion and a WrestleMania.
Well, he's got the title. He's got the
and he's one of the greatest, turning into one of the greatest IC champions of all time. But like, my God, I mean, the Miz is a Hall of Famer. Think about it.
Eventually.
I agree.
They're on the doorstep of something that you can get excited about, and then they just take it away.
Well, they really messed the ball up with Miz in 2017.
Right.
Like they should have had him win the Money in the Bank back then.
Yeah.
He had all that fire from, like the Talking Smack promo.
Oh, my God.
He was like the hottest, one of the most hottest and underrated heels at the same time. How do you be the hottest and underrated heel at the same time?
He made for the first time. Think about it. For the first time in years, he made the Intercontinental title feel important to the show.
Really? For real.
To the show.
And that promo was epic.
Before Miz won the IC belt, when's the last time you thought the Intercontinental title was important? You don't even know. It was that long. It was that long.
It's been a long time. They've diminished the credibility of the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, for a long time they did that.
I got some.
Randy Orton.
Yeah, maybe.
Randy Orton, Edge, Shelton Benjamin.
You might have to go back that far, and that's a damn shame.
It is a damn shame, brother. It really, really is. Like you can't even think like what was the last time. Sometimes the IC title wasn't even defended on fucking WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Ridiculous.
Come on. Like, how do you miss this stuff?
If you look at the importance of the IC belt, like if you just think there's so many things.
Staples in wrestling that should like never be altered. A few of them, in my opinion, are titles need to be defended, especially on the Big Four.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it every pay-per-view, fine. But at least on the Big Four, put them on the line. Another thing I want to keep is have the champion always come out last. This drives me nuts when the title comes to the guy, the champion, go, I don't give a shit if he's a heel. Fuck you.
A little tradition. I like it.
Dude, some tradition, time-honored tradition. If like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they go. It's the same logic as what you're talking about with the theme. Hey, bro, the theme was fine. It was working. Don't fucking change it. That stuff was working too. Don't change it. I think they should even bring back like the carts. Remember, like WrestleMania 3 and stuff?
The big venues, I like it.
The carts, all the way down. You're in a cart. You're chilling there, just fucking watching your opponent. That's it. Just chilling.
Imagine Randy Orton coming out in one of those carts like this.
Dude, it's amazing.
Or the Fiend's coming down the cart.
Oh my God, the Fiend on one of those carts as like the pyro.
A custom one?
Oh my God,
bro.
That'd be great.
Oh my God.
Like these are great ideas.
Why are 3 people who are not getting paid by this company coming up with these ideas? Meanwhile, the people who are getting paid to put on the show are dropping the ball in so many ways.
It's because they have experience with playwriting fucking France or something, you know? And then they think they can come in here, learn about wrestling and understand it. It's like you have to have a wrestling mind to understand what's gonna cater to wrestling fans.
Let me interject something. You know? It's not like we're throwing stuff out there. It's not like we're fantasy booking. Oh, I wish The Rock would come back and Stone Cold would come back and they can main event WrestleMania. No, we're talking about things that they can really do.
Yeah, they could really do.
Problem
design.
To Malik's point, redo the sets. To Mounty's point, redo the carts. To my point, keep classic and cool theme music. That's easy. That's easy.
Bro, the whole world, right? Let me tell you this too. The whole world banks on, you know, oh, the 90s are back. The 80s are back. From a style standpoint, it works, right? You guys see it right now. We're wearing some stuff that, you know, we're rocking probably in the 90s and this and that. And, you know, some of the old athletic wear is coming back. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that, like, they come full circle. Why the fuck is wrestling any different? You know, why can't you just go back? Go back a little bit.
You know what? I gotta be fair. I've done videos on this too. The reason that you can never go back to the old era is, one, because fans are so hypocritical nowadays. They don't know what
not eras. Excuse me. I meant themes and like music. I'm talking like music. I'm talking about pay-per-view venues. I'm talking about entrances. I'm talking about the general attraction of wrestling, not necessarily go back to you know, hey, I slept with your mom, Jerry Springer, fucking. I'm not talking about that. You know? If you want to make it edgier, fine. Make it a little bit edgier. I'm all right with. But anyways,
you know what? Real quick, and if an occasional bitch or son of a bitch or shit or
bastard,
if something like that gives you a pop in the crowd, do that too. It's not a big deal. What's the problem?
I like the edgier part of wrestling personally. Yeah. I mean, I do these fantasy bookings on my TikTok, and I did one. They wanted me to do one for WrestleMania, and I did one. And it looks like WrestleMania going to have fans, but I said, you know, I made this video a while ago. I said, you know what, I'm only going to make this card, and I'm going to base it off if WrestleMania had fans. So when I put the cards, like, you know what, Drew and Roman, obviously the 2 guys right now for WWE. They build up Roman. Well, they always been hot on Roman Reigns, obviously, and Drew has come a long way. So for last year, he had a great last year. You got to keep his momentum going. So
guys, I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back.
So I had the idea of, and obviously I said this is only going to work if they had fans, right? Because without fans, we don't know if they're going to have. I want to assume they're going to have fans this year because they changed the venue to Raymond James Stadium instead of LA. So I'm thinking they may have virtual spaced out fans or whatever, how they do it. I don't know. But I did. One of them was obviously Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And a lot of people were looking at that. It was like, okay, well, The Rock's part-time. Like, this is only – you booked this match only because it's going to benefit Roman Reigns. Obviously, the storyline makes sense.
Yeah, this is not another encounter of CM Punk again.
Right. The story is already there, obviously. The story is already made, and it's already there. But there were some people who were saying, like, oh, well, the Rock has to win. I was like, bro, no. The Rock does not need to win this match. He should not win this match at all because, number one, The Rock's not even going to be there after WrestleMania. He's definitely going to retire after this WrestleMania. It's going to be his last match. And it's about putting somebody over that needs it.
Yes.
Putting Roman over is going to benefit Roman Reigns even bigger. And I say, you know what? If they have Roman beat Rock, that's going to be huge for him. But they have Drew McIntyre beat John Cena at WrestleMania, so Drew also gets a big one because Drew beat John Cena at WrestleMania. That's huge for Drew McIntyre.
I like that.
If Roman Reigns beats The Rock at WrestleMania, that's huge for Roman.
Huge for Roman, and then you can
start. Now you have 2 guys who are the world champions.
Carry the company going forward. You know, you're the new Warrior and Hogan. Go make it happen. Like, and then the other guys. I like that idea. Especially the fact that you said that The Rock would retire after. And again, going back to that time-honored tradition that we just spoke about, that's another one, right? You know, The Rock understands you got to go out on your back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think that Taker has got a guy of his lineage and legacy. That's why I think that we might see one more from him, because he knows that he's supposed to, on paper, go out on his back. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. I think it would be really weird. The guy who always preaches about, like, you know, that locker room leader, this and that. I'd feel really weird if he didn't get that in at some point. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But I think you're right. I think if The Rock, you know, has Roman beat him, you know, that's perfect. Roman's your dude going forward. He is literally taken the same path as The Rock, where The Rock was, you know, taken a little bit more seriously and looked at as a major player after he had his heel run. So, you know, that we're kind of seeing that right now with Roman Reigns. We already knew he was a big player. And anybody says differently, they're full of shit. They just didn't want to admit it. Roman was always a top guy, but now he's really showing that the guy can kind of go full circle, and he can kind of flip, and he can, you know, some people thought, he probably won't be a good heel. Well, he proved you wrong here, you know, and maybe some people thought that he'd be a good heel, and he's proving you right. But, you know, he will be your dude, you know, and he's going to be like Rock. He's going to go and do a Hollywood movie here and there. That's probably why he got his teeth done, you know, like there's certain, yeah, absolutely. That wasn't mistake, man. Like, they're looking at him, and especially now that he's trying to be this badass guy, guaranteed this guy is going to be some sort of badass in a film where we're going to see this Roman Reigns. We're going to see that in movies. Bro, you know, I really think so.
When you look, I've said this many times, bro, just when you look at Roman, just look at him.
He's a star.
The long black hair, the fucking tattoo, the tribal tattoo.
Bro, he is WWE's Jason Momoa. I don't give a fuck. 100%. No homo.
That's a good comparison. That's a good comparison.
100%. He is the WWE's Jason Momoa, bro. You know, chicks want to be with him, and men want to be like him. That's how it is.
When he first came out without the vest, and he's making his way to the entrance, I'm like, why? This guy should have been wrestling without a vest his whole life. Look at this guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
First off, you look at that tattoo. That tattoo is amazing. That tribal tattoo is sick. The long black hair, the beard. He finally grew his beard out, and he doesn't have the goatee no more. He has the beard now. He looks like
beard looks great. Imagine that. Imagine that a beard looks good on somebody, huh?
And like I said, it would make sense wise, because if you had Drew beat John Cena at WrestleMania and you had Roman beat The Rock, it's a huge win for both guys. Two guys are legends. Both guys are Hollywood. It would be the right thing.
Like $1 million.
It would be the right thing to do for business, because they had their time. They had their era. Now it's time to help somebody else get over. And it's an easy story. The storyline's already there. The storyline easily for Drew McIntyre and John Cena is you have John Cena come back, and he wants to be the 17-time champ. I want to be the champ. I want the record. You build it up for Drew. You make it seem like, and it can be legit, because fans are going to be like, you know what? Drew McIntyre's the guy. Drew McIntyre's the guy. I can't see him losing. But you know what, John Cena, they may put the belt on him one more time to pass up that record. So, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but obviously
the best kind of storylines, the unpredictable outcomes. That's what you watch. That's what we watch wrestling for. You know, we don't like to sit here and predict where things are going to go, but ideally we watch because we're like, what are they going to do? What's going to happen here?
The storyline between Roman and The Rock is already there. It's there right now. With everything they're doing with the bloodline and the tribal chief, it's all there. All you need to do is add on to it. Just add on to it. The head of the table. Rock comes back and says, "Oh, you're the head of the table." I've been providing for the family for years.
So I'd like to add on to what you said there. You mentioned that, you know, that feud needs fans, or maybe you were saying both feuds need fans. Okay.
Well, the Rock. I just don't see The Rock coming back without no fans. It just don't make no sense.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. And if it is no, then what is the harm in having Roman Reigns keep the title until next year? I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with him.
I know how that match should play out, so I actually thought about how that match should play out, like the match itself.
Bro,
I thought about something like low-key, like it involves both twins, and like, you want to hear it real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so check it out. Jay comes back. No, Jay's here now. Jimmy comes back. Jimmy decides that Roman's out of control. Obviously, that starts a natural feud between him and his brother, right? They destroy Jimmy because obviously Jimmy's outnumbered. Jimmy's the one who makes the phone call to The Rock. They go to WrestleMania. Jimmy's in Rock's corner. Jay and Heyman are in Reigns' corner. And then Jimmy turns on The Rock to help Reigns get the win.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that. And it would assemble the tribal bloodline faction, but it's all there. You know what I'm saying? And
Rock goes out on it. I heard what you guys were talking about when I stepped away. Rock goes out on his back.
Retires. I'm saying for good.
And it doesn't go out weak.
Yeah, and you could even have him come. You could even have The Rock come out on Raw the next night, give a little promo, so announce his retirement for good. You know what I'm saying? I'm done.
Yeah, make a whole episode out of it if you want. You know,
you could have Rock come out the next night and doing how The Rock cuts promos. You know, he could put Roman over in the promo, but still be The Rock. You know what I'm saying? He could still be The Rock. You know what I'm saying? And put Roman over in the promo and announce his retirement and saying, I appreciate it. Doesn't mean you're going to see The Rock no more. I'm sure The Rock.
When you see Roman come out and he says, I don't need your support. And then
Right.
You know, to imagine that, telling The Rock on his career, like defining or career ending night that, hey, I don't need your support going forward.
I think
Roman Reigns.
I think the main events would be huge. It would be 2 huge main events. And WrestleMania is 2 nights this year again. So you could have one main event one night and one main event the other night.
Why do you sound excited when you say that?
I like
this gives me something to watch. I don't know.
I hate it. I hate it so much. That was such a disappointing announcement, gentlemen.
They're just gonna do it for now, man. They're not gonna.
I don't think the 2 nights is bad because number one, this is the thing. This is the thing. If you're not gonna make WrestleMania 2 nights, then you have to shorten WrestleMania to 3 hours again.
Why?
3 hours. Why? I'd be okay with 5.
No, because it's too long. I hate sitting through a 5-hour WrestleMania.
No, right now it's like 8, isn't it?
Yeah,
the pre-show, the main talk, the main show.
It counts.
The main show. I don't watch the pre-show.
It doesn't count.
You don't watch the pre-show at WrestleMania?
I watch the pre-show. It doesn't count though.
I don't watch the pre-show.
WrestleMania doesn't start at 5:00 in the afternoon.
I turn on WrestleMania at 7 p.m. when it starts, the official show. And obviously the show. Bro, if you look at WrestleMania 35, the main event was at 2 a.m. The next night. Why is the main event at 2 o'clock? We should be 2 o'clock in the morning. We should be talking about WrestleMania by then. How great it was. Oh, it was great. The show was awesome. You know what I'm saying? People should be at home. The people in the arena should be in their hotels by now at WrestleMania.
Let me give you a different logic. First of all, it's the biggest pay-per-view of the year. I don't have a problem with the biggest pay-per-view of the year being 7 hours long, as long as it's good all the way through.
It's impossible to make it good all the way through because people are going to be tired. They're going to be so tired by all these matches and everything. That's why look at all the WrestleManias they have had long. There hasn't been a great one yet. The WrestleManias that we grew up on were all good because they were short and they were what they needed to be. WrestleMania 35.
WrestleMania 17 was like 4.5 hours long.
But it was a good WrestleMania. There were things in between the WrestleMania that got people. Like you had the Battle Royal. Okay, the Battle Royal was, that was a little thing for people to, kind of get their little chill moment back. But when the main event happened, when Rock and Austin came on, you were hyped again. Okay, it's time to get back in that moment.
Okay.
Even you see, like you look at like I said, WrestleMania 35. The show opens.
That was a long show, bro. I agree with you.
The show opens. Seth Rollins wins in the beginning of the night. Great. Okay, great way to start off WrestleMania, right? Cool, WrestleMania. Kofi Mania in the middle of WrestleMania. That was great too. Kofi wins the belt right in the middle of WrestleMania. That was great. But by the time the main event happened, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. People were tired. Bro, Mark was at that WrestleMania. He said, bro, people were sleeping. People were tired, bro. People were. He said it took a. He said, bro, it took a lot out of me to get my energy back in for the match because we already been there for 8 hours, bro. Like that's an entire shift that you work right there. 8-hour shift. That's a long time. It's a reason that they split up Wrestle Kingdom to 2 nights because Wrestle Kingdom is long. So now you got 1 night for Wrestle Kingdom 1, 1 second night for Wrestle Kingdom 2.
That's how 2 nights. It just doesn't feel right to me though, bro.
That's because we didn't grow up on that. And I feel you too. Like I understand why they did it last year because of the pandemic. So it was something different to make something different happen.
I'm gonna tell you why I think they're doing it this year. I'm gonna tell you why because that last year because like you said, 100% it was a pandemic. This year's pandemic too, but it's like they're gonna have fans, and I think because they don't have full capacity, I think they're doing it for selfish reasons because they're not gonna have full capacity at Raymond James Stadium. They're making 2 nights. We have to buy tickets for both events.
Yeah, or
There's no way you're buying event tonight one that you're going to get access to night 2. I don't believe.
Yeah, it's ultimately to get more fans, because if they can only hold 10,000 people, well, 20,000 is better than 10,000.
Right. I'm looking at the tonight events. It's not bad because I actually enjoyed it last year because it was short.
Did you?
I did because WrestleMania wasn't as long and I was happy with how they did it. We got the Boneyard. The Boneyard match was great. That was a fucking great thing that we got, the Boneyard match. The Firefly Funhouse, that was different. Okay, cool. But, I mean, obviously it only sucked because there was no fans there, so you couldn't hear the reactions and people getting excited and everything. But the WrestleManias for the past years have been so long, and it's just WrestleMania should not be ending past 12 or 1 o'clock. They should be – when we grew up on WrestleManias were maybe, at the most 4 hours, at the most. But they were never, 5, 6, 7 hours at the – it's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
You keep saying 5, 6, 7 hours, and so does Mountie. The pre-show doesn't count.
No, I'm talking about the main show is 5 hours now. The main show
is 5 hours. Yes, it is.
The main show is like 5 hours. It should not be that long. It's hard, even as a wrestling fan. It's hard to sit through that stuff because if you look,
I love it. I love knowing that I've watched wrestling on the biggest show of the year for 2 hours and I still have 3 hours to go. I love it.
Well, I don't know. It's the same with like Raw. Like some people are like, "Why is Raw 3 hours?" It's hard to sit through Raw.
It's crap. Raw shouldn't be 1 hour right now.
But even when they changed it to I think it was maybe 2012 or something like that, when they changed it to 3 hours, people were like, "Bro, like 3 hour show, that's hard to sit through." You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm with you 1,000%, but right now Raw is crap. Raw is hot garbage.
Well, Raw's been garbage for a minute. But I just feel like WrestleMania. You had your big reviews like the Rumble. The big four, the Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. Those are the ones that could be like, for a couple hours, at the most. But like the other, I don't know. It's just hard to sit through those shows, bro. Especially when you're there. Like when you're there for the pre-show to the end of the show. So you're there from when the pre-show starts from 5 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. That's a long time to sit there.
Gear up, baby. Gear up. It's about to be a 7-hour ride, and God willing, it's a good one.
Just imagine the people who when I was supposed to go to WrestleMania last year, and my mom and my grandma were talking about going with me. I was like, "There's no way you're gonna be able to sit through the WrestleMania is 8 hours. You're not staying for an 8-hour show, okay?
Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to do that.
You're not gonna be able to do it, okay? So I'm gonna tough it out, but I won't even if I'm able to do it. But
your mom and grandma would have been. You say your mom and grandma?
Yeah, they were just gonna
stop having fun like halfway through.
Yeah, they would
3-4 hours. They would be done.
Yeah.
But don't tell me for a minute. You're funny, Malik. I don't know if I'm going to get through it. Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Yes,
no, I would have fallen asleep.
You're gonna have to be begging for more. Not only will you have that, you're gonna want to go hang out with the WrestleMania party afterwards at the bar or something like that and talk about it. Because that's how it goes. Like you said, it's crazy. After a big ass mass, we all kind of talk and say, well, it shouldn't be this long. Meanwhile, all of us are super excited to go hop on the podcast and talk about it after. So it's almost like we don't get our wrestling fix at the same time because we want to talk about it. At least for me. Right. And if I don't want to talk about it, I'm online. Like before I was doing podcasts and stuff, I was online, Twitter, just seeing what people thought about certain matches or the event or what's going on. Like for me, I'm always on a high right after a pay-per-view all the time, for an hour. I can't sleep. It's crazy. I want to just check what's going on. I want to.
Conrad said he said that he was at
brand out there.
When Conrad said when he went to WrestleMania 33, he was there from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. So they got to the arena at 12 p.m. and they didn't leave till 12 and the next 12 a.m.
What was he doing there at 12 p.m.?
Because people come together and you do
that's his that's my dog, Conrad. You're my dog, but
he didn't have to be there at 12 o'clock. But he didn't have to be there at 12 o'clock. But you should not be leaving WrestleMania at 12 o'clock in the morning. It's too late. It's too late.
I don't think it's a big deal. It's a 5-hour show, man. It's Wrestle freaking Mania.
7 hours. Pre-show counts.
Pre-show does not count.
Ask the wrestlers that.
Listen to this. When Becky Lynch, she did an interview, she said when she won the title, it was the next night. So it was the next day, whatever.
Technically, it was the day after. Yep.
But she said by the time she won the belt, the superstars had left WrestleMania because it was so long. She said, but half the people were already gone. Everybody was already gone by then because nobody wanted to stay. The show was too long. Think about that. Think about it. Some people didn't even stick around for the main event, and it was the first female WrestleMania main event. And it was like, you know what? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I gotta go.
I was like spent at that point. Like, I remember like 2 spots.
I was gone. I was tired, bro. I was like,
they were like, I can't compute.
I'll be honest. The only thing I remember was Charlotte Flair flying in the helicopter.
Bro, even with WrestleMania 34, so WrestleMania 34, I did react to my YouTube channel. But
I remember the finish. The finish was lackluster, or was that? Against when she pinned Ronda, I felt like it wasn't what it was cracked up to be at the end. At the end, the finish, I was like, oh, that's how you put it on.
So when the WrestleMania 34 main event came with Roman and Brock, right? Because I was doing reactions for my YouTube channel, so obviously that was like one of the big matches. And by the time that main event happened, bro, I got narcolepsy too, bro. So I was like hit. I was like, oh my gosh, bro, like this is really long. I had to get up, bro. Before I had to I think what was that match before? It was the match with when Braun Strowman and the little kid won the belts, the tag belts.
Hated that. That was the match right before.
During that match, I left my room and took a shower, bro. I took a shower real quick so I can wake up again. And by the time I got the shower, the main event was already on. So I was refreshed. Like, okay, you know what? I'm out. I gotta stay awake for this match. But like, bro, like, why do I have to do that for WrestleMania? Like, during the Ruthless Aggression era, the WrestleManias were 3-4 hours, bro. And all the WrestleManias in the Ruthless Aggression era were good WrestleManias because they weren't overdue. They weren't too long. They weren't too short. They were just the right amount of times. And it sucks for a wrestling crowd to die out during WrestleMania. You should be excited through all the matches. You know what I mean? And by the time, if you feel tired by the time the main event comes on, it's a problem. Because by the time the main event is the main event. That's the biggest match of the night. So you should be happy when the main event comes on. You should be excited. You know what I'm saying? Like, just imagine, just imagine when you went to WrestleMania 28, Rock versus Cena, big main event, right? Everybody's excited for it. Right. Just imagine if it was 1 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, the match is just now starting. You're going to be like, what the fuck? Like, the match is just now starting. Like, and the match is going to be 40 minutes long. So now you got to sit through this 40-minute match. And by the time you leave WrestleMania, it's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning. And
you're almost like, okay, I want this to kind of end like as soon as I get it. And
you know how packed it is? I've never been to WrestleMania, but I'm sure leaving WrestleMania crowds, I'm saying, it's pretty packed. It's pretty packed when you leave the buildings, and it's a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, like, I don't know. I just feel like the 2-night thing, it's not a bad thing to me. I don't know how they're gonna do it this year, so I got to see how they're gonna do it this year. But last year, I don't know. I just feel like WrestleMania has always been too long to me for the last couple of years. Like, I always said to me, the last great WrestleMania to me was 31, and 31 wasn't a long WrestleMania. But after that, you know what I'm saying, the WrestleManias haven't been like fantastic to me. You know what I mean? Like, WrestleMania 35 was good, but it wasn't like spectacular. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I'm with you 100%.
All right, so before we get off here, I got these questions I want you guys to win. Rapid fire questions right here. Got 6 questions in the little thing. Just try to think of them as hard as you can. You know what I'm saying? And you could break it down, and we could chat about some of these questions.
Let's do it.
I guess we don't have to.
One at a time, or both of us together?
No, we don't have to rapid fire for these questions, but there's questions I'm going to ask before we get off here. So one of the questions right here, the first one we'll get into is someone who should have been world champion that was the champion. So one person that you think, without a doubt, should have been the world champion at least once that didn't win the belt. I'll give you mine. There obviously could be many people that didn't win the belt, but to me, I really think Mr. Perfect should have been the world champion. At least Mr. Perfect should have been champion this once. At least one time in his career, he should have been the WWE champion. I mean, obviously the IC title fit him, but him not being the WWE champion to me it's criminal. I don't understand it. So that's mine.
You want to go next?
Yeah, you can go next. That's mine. Mr. Perfect would be mine.
I would have liked to seen Owen Hart as champion. I mean, I obviously do feel like he would have eventually been champion if he were still, with us on this earth. That one comes to mind. The other one, was Mr. Perfect. That was the first one that kind of stood out to me. You can make an argument for maybe Jake the Snake Roberts. But then again,
Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man. Ted DiBiase could have been.
Well, he was handed it from Andre, but yes, for him to win it on his own, I agree. What about you, Sean?
To me,
Rick Rude.
The ball. I was just about that's where I was going.
My bad.
No, it's all good. Ravishing Rick Rude should have won one of those title matches against Warrior in the 90s. I feel like Ravishing Rick Rude had momentum. I feel like Rick Rude. Honestly, I've heard rumors about how Ravishing Rick Rude, if he had not have had the contract dispute toward the end of his career, could have been the main event against Hogan at WrestleMania 7, which I think would have been awesome. Rick Rude. I'd have to go with Ravishing Rick Rude. I think he was ultra charismatic. I mean, some people might say, "Oh, well, he was world champion in WCW."
It's not the same.
Yeah, exactly. I think he should have been WWE world champion. Ravishing Rick Rude was that good, and so was Owen Hart, and so was Mr. Perfect. Those are the two I was thinking as well.
I still think Mountie said that he thinks Owen would have won the belt eventually. He should have already had the belt. I think he should have beat Bret at SummerSlam in the cage. Should have beat him in the cage match.
I think SummerSlam '94, Owen Hart should have won that match.
Should have been the champ right there. So let's go with this one right here. Okay, favorite female superstar of all time and why? So give me your favorite female superstar of all time, personally to you. Mine, I'll go for mine. Would be hands down Lita. Number one, Lita. Well, actually, I have two. I have two. Lita and Victoria were my two favorites. Number one, they had two. They actually had characters on television, and two, they didn't feel like, even though they were divas back then, they just didn't feel like the body shame diva. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Playboy diva type thing. You know what I'm saying? They felt like legit athlete wrestlers to me. They felt like important to the shows, to the product. They were all involved in something. Lita with Team Extreme was dope. She was doing extreme things. She had a different look. She didn't look like any of the divas on the roster. She looked like completely different from everybody else. Victoria was the psychopath when she first came. She had a legit character, the badass theme song, that tattoo theme song she had before they changed it. And she was a good wrestler. They're both good wrestlers too. They were good on the mic to me. I feel like those two to me stick out of my head, and I appreciated their work back then. Especially, I don't know if you guys remember. You guys remember the hardcore match that Victoria and Trish had at Survivor Series in 2002? Mm-hmm. That was like huge back then. Like, you didn't have hardcore matches for female matches back then, and they killed it to me. So I was like, bro, like, I think those two stick out in my head, so I'm gonna go with those two.
Okay. Tough act to follow, but personally, like, I'll just pick one because one has really, 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 for me, well, two actually. Trish Stratus. I mean, Trish Stratus has got to be in the conversation. Like, I felt like everything she did was very good.
Golden.
I don't have to convince you guys or anybody listening that's an easy pick. But to be honest, like, against contrary to popular belief, I should say, I'm a huge Charlotte fan. Huge. Like, she's my favorite. I'll buy her action figure, like, I'll pay to meet her. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion, she has everything. She's got the look, she's got the natural athleticism, she's got the wrestling in the blood. Like, this, she is like the woman version of Randy Orton to me. Like, Randy Orton came into this business. It may not have been wrestling for 20 years or 15 years like some other guys did, and he got it quick. Charlotte, very similar thing. I think in Bailey's podcast with Austin for Broken Skull, she mentioned that like, there was things that Bailey it took her 2 years to learn, and Charlotte got it really quickly. And it's just, that's how good she is. Like, I'm sorry, like, she does things, her entrance, her persona, dude, like, she's already a Hall of Famer, man. Dude, and she's like been at WWE not that long. Like, and you could make an argument, obviously, for Becky Lynch, any of the four horsewomen, and that's all good. And I think it's just a matter of preference, guys. Some people ride and die with Sasha Banks. Some people love Becky Lynch. I liked Becky Lynch a little bit before the man. Once that Survivor Series moment happened, I was like, okay, that's awesome. Right after that, I just wasn't feeling her anymore. I'm sorry. I'm going to get like a mad heat for that. I don't give a shit. That's how I feel. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way. Sasha Banks, I love Sasha Banks going, NXT and everything. Came to the main roster, not really feeling it as much. I don't know why. Doesn't mean she's bad. No, I'm telling you who my favorite is. My favorite right now and has been for a long time is Charlotte Flair. I never got tired of her. If anything, at first, when I first saw her, I was like, I don't know. But then I think it's when she turned heel. When she turned heel, she had me and I never looked back. And whatever that was, 2016, 2017, for me, that was the point where I was like, okay, hang on. You got something here, you know? So for me, Charlotte and Trish. What about you, Sean?
I'm gonna go Sasha Banks. I think Sasha Banks is the most talented woman on the roster right here and now. That's obviously debatable. Charlotte's a tremendous athlete with tremendous pedigree. I think Bayley as a heel is tremendous. I would go with Sasha. I think Sasha's the best in the game right now. But my favorite all time is not a wrestler. Favorite female superstar. I know most people would automatically assume that means in-ring competitor. I don't think anyone will ever overlap the sheer impact of Elizabeth Hewlett, Miss Elizabeth. I think she, as the manager of Savage, as the manager of the Mega Powers, the whole WrestleMania 5 saga, going all the way through 6, teaming up with Dusty Rhodes, all the way through 7, reuniting with Savage, all the way through 8, getting married at SummerSlam 91, WCW, turning on Savage to be with Flair. Miss Elizabeth, rest in peace, by the way, and to rest in peace to many legends we've mentioned right now, Owen, Perfect, Rude, many others. So many of these greats have left us. But Miss Elizabeth, I'm actually almost getting emotional talking about it, which is kind of corny, but it is what it is. I loved her because she wasn't, and I didn't love her in the sense of like, I mean, obviously she was a beautiful woman, but I was 4, 5, 7, 10 years old. I wasn't, plotting on Miss Elizabeth. I wasn't like, Miss Elizabeth's so freaking hot.
Man, you got lust for Elizabeth, brother. You got lust for Elizabeth.
The luster.
But I mean, even looking back at it 20 years later, those eyes, like you guys just said, those eyes lust Elizabeth, and how she didn't have to say much. All she had to do was stand there.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, she changed the atmosphere of an entire arena just by being there. Macho Man Randy Savage, as great as he was, God rest his soul, would not have been the same. Maybe he still makes it to the Hall of Fame. I think he definitely is still a world champion. But Macho Man Randy Savage is not on the same level. If Macho Man without Elizabeth was at an 8, Elizabeth made him a 10. The Mega Power storyline to me is still one of the greatest storylines in the history of wrestling.
Ever, bro. Ever.
Dude.
I wasn't even around then, and I've done my history.
Especially in WWF. Like Miss Elizabeth said fucking like 10 words throughout all those years.
Yeah.
She never said anything. That look, the smile, the elegance.
Yeah.
I said on a podcast once that the greatest wrestling moment ever could be the WrestleMania 7 with the Macho Man and Miss reuniting. That shit, people are crying in the crowd, bro. Like people are in tears, man. Like that is true wrestling storytelling at its finest, bro.
And she had some amazing dance partners, like in storyline that is. Like Sherry, give all credit, rest in peace to Sherry Martel for playing the heel
antagonist.
Whole saga. Miss Elizabeth, plain and simple, female superstar, especially in 2021. People automatically assume in-ring competitor. If that were the case, I'd go Sasha Banks. But as far as the greatest female, I think Miss Elizabeth is the greatest female, period, in the history of professional wrestling.
Right now, I would have to go with Sasha Banks right now, too. She's always her Sasha Banks and Bayley were always my 2 favorites in the 4 Horsewomen. I always liked them. They always stuck out to me, especially after that takeover match. I was like, oh yeah, these two.
Oh yeah,
Bayley and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, those were always my 2 favorites, even from NXT.
Great match. That was a great match.
Next one, so the female favorite male superstar of all time and why? I don't think I've ever heard your guys' favorite male superstar of all time. I don't know if I've ever heard you guys'.
Adult Sean or Child Sean?
We know Child Sean is Hulk Hogan. We know.
Yeah, me too.
If you look at old stuff, everybody knows my John Cena. John Cena is always my favorite superstar. Even as from kid till adult, he's always been my favorite. I never turned on him. I never disliked him. I always rooted for John Cena. He was always my favorite. There were only two people as a kid I wanted to be like. One of them was Kobe Bryant. May he rest in peace. The other was John Cena. Those are my only two childhood idols. And John Cena was Superman to me. I will always appreciate what he did for wrestling. I don't care if anybody dislikes him or not. I don't care. John Cena was my dude. I rooted for John Cena against The Rock at WrestleMania. That's how loyal. I wanted John Cena to beat The Rock at WrestleMania. And The Rock is one of my favorites ever. But John Cena.
His spinner belt was trash, but John Cena is a Hall of Famer.
The spinner belt was amazing. I'm not gonna get the spinner belt was amazing.
John Cena is a Hall of Famer, no questions asked.
And one of the greatest ever. He's one of the greatest of all time. But John Cena is easily my favorite. Since everybody knows that, I'll just give you somebody else because everybody who watches already knows John Cena is my favorite wrestler of all time. My second favorite wrestler of all time, hands down, is The Undertaker. 100%. Undertaker is my second favorite wrestler of all time. I don't see how anybody could dislike The Undertaker, to be honest. I mean,
bro,
the character.
Undertaker, the more you think about it, dude, the more that he may go down as the best wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Character, in-ring, everything, dude. Bro, the guy was a living legend, still to this day. And how can you go against, like, this guy, his whole career, man, was fucking solid gold.
Yeah.
Like, how do you can't argue. Like, certain guys I felt like had their ups and downs and stuff like that. The Rock had his moments. Stone Cold had his moments, you know. Undertaker, I felt, was the most consistent top major player, you know.
Even today, after being more educated in the business and now crossing over from, as we all are, crossing over from just being fans to journalists, I know how good The Undertaker is. I know how great The Undertaker is. And for some reason, I mean, he's without question a top 10, probably top 7 to ever do it. I just have difficulty replacing anybody on my Mount Rushmore. You find so much difficulty with many wrestling fans and historians putting Undertaker for some reason into their Mount Rushmore, because who replaces, in my book, the greatest of all time, Shawn Michaels? Who replaces Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and then you could go back and forth about Rock or Austin, right? Undertaker's amazing, but it's like I feel like as much as we love him and appreciate him, he's almost like underrated.
Okay, I can see that.
Think about it. In the annals of time, and in the annals of history, the Undertaker, you could say Mark Calloway is underappreciated as it pertains to being one of the greatest to ever do it, because we have so much difficulty replacing Michaels and Austin and Rock and Hogan and Flair,
Bret Hart,
right? You know,
I mean,
I don't know. Undertaker's on my Mount Rushmore. He's always on my Mount Rushmore.
Fair enough.
He was always on my Mount.
Like, you're right, Sean. It's a matter of, you know, you have like this top 10 list, and it's like, okay, who's the top 4?
Mount Rushmore's are hard to make though, because it's only 4 people. So I mean,
like for me, my favorite male superstar is not on the Rushmore.
Mine isn't either.
By probably anybody, because like Sean said, the competition's so tight. But for me, like, Randy Orton's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Randy Orton is my favorite superstar.
I think if you talk about underrated, Randy gotta be on there too, because I feel like Randy can make a case to be in the top 10 greatest ever, if you ask me.
Totally.
Top 10?
Strong case.
You know, Orton might be the man. Everybody talks about Cena. Orton might be the guy to break Ric Flair's record, bro. Maybe. You know, think about that for a minute. Ric Flair's got the utmost respect for Randy Orton. You know, Evolution. You know, they're still tight to this day, it seems. I mean, there's so much history and there's so much respect between the two. I wouldn't be surprised if Nature Boy, you know, said, "Hey, look, you know, we all talked about Cena, but Orton's doing his thing and he's still going strong, man. He's having some of his best years right now." Make an argument for it. And for me, he was just super captivating. He was, like I told you, he was the reason why I got back into watching wrestling by playing that SmackDown versus Raw video game. It took a fucking. Let
me ask you this: Am I the only one? I want to ask you both guys. Am I the only one when he won the world title for the first time? It felt right. like when he became the youngest world champion, I was like, you know what? It feels right.
Yeah.
He had it. I feel like he already felt like he was going to for greatness. So when he beat Benoit, obviously it was surprising because I didn't think he was going to win. But when he beat Benoit, it didn't feel like it didn't feel like oh, why is he the champion? It kind of felt like, oh, you know what, that fits. It was right.
That makes sense. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I was very happy about seeing that happen, especially since he was still in evolution at the time and everything. And look what happened after, man. Some of the best storytelling with Batista and Triple H and Orton, like he was trying to find himself and to be that guy, but he was a little bit too over the top face, and he figured himself out as his career kept going. But I always felt like he was always consistent, always there. He always made a feud matter in so many ways. I felt like he was always the man and helped to not carry things when things were lower, but there was so many times where he was just the reason why you tuned into Raw. That heel 2009 Orton was the shit. Even when he, like low key, some great matches he had with Jeff Hardy, Royal Rumble, great match.
2009 run.
That 2009 run, that Royal Rumble victory, that No Mercy win, the double, the match against, Triple H. I mean, God, like it was just so, and obviously his feuds with Cena. I would love to see one more. I'd love to see it at WrestleMania. Like this for me, Randy Orton is my guy.
He never got a WrestleMania match either. That's crazy to think about.
Right? It's like they had so many feuds, and I think they're tied, right? They're tied.
Yep. They're evenly tied with matches.
3-3. I don't remember the numbers. It could be 7-7 for all I know. I don't know. But it's tied. I know that. So how fitting for number 17, Orton versus Cena. Who gets it? I think it'd be a good one.
How are you, Sean?
Oh boy. Like I said,
wait, before you answer, who was your favorite as a kid though? Since we said kid.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan was my favorite.
What about you, Mountie? Who was your favorite as a kid?
As a kid, it's got to be Hulk Hogan, man.
Yeah,
loved Hulk Hogan, and then when Hulk Hogan was out of the picture for a few years because he might have went to WCW or whatever, Razor Ramon loved him.
Okay.
But I think that was just like a little phase for 4 or 5 years. But Hogan was Hogan, bro.
Right.
I wanted everything to do.
That's how I felt about Cena. Cena was John Cena to me. So
that was my Cena, bro.
Yeah. So Hogan's your favorite as a kid, but favorite of all time. Your favorite superhero of all time.
I always say this because I feel like it's so applicable and so important. Not just as a fan. Now that I've studied this and we're all trying to make money off of this and be journalists and be all these things as it relates to, we're enhancing our fandom. We're going from fans to educated fans. We're going from fans to journalists. Top to bottom, in-ring, charisma, character, factions, attitude, back surgeries, comebacks, main events, being an icon, being a showstopper. You all know where I'm going with this. Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time and my favorite superstar of all time. I just was watching WrestleMania 8. I just was watching him face Tito Santana in the opening match. I'm hearing Shawn Michaels music. I'm hearing Sherry Martel sing the lyrics. I'm getting goosebumps. Shawn Michaels was, golly.
I saw something in him at an early age too, like when he was in Rockers. So I was like,
good. I mean, he was so freaking good. Like the Rockers, they were so good. Even his little mini feud with Marty Jannetty, so good. Bret Hart, so good. Austin, so good with a bad back, a back that needed surgery. He goes out, and I wouldn't say tore the house down, but put on a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10 star rating match at WrestleMania 14. Comes back 2002. The match with Triple H, I consider one of the best ever.
ever. Yeah, I think he said you can make an argument his second run was better than his first, and he never won the world. He didn't even have the world title but one time his second run.
Exactly. Well, he had it for like 2 seconds, but you know what I know.
He never needed it. He never needed it.
And then when you take all that into consideration, and you think how he ended things, you think about WrestleMania 25 and WrestleMania 26.
That storyline, my favorite of all time. The streak versus career will forever be.
What do you mean? He came back. What are you talking about, guys? He had that great tag team match.
Oh, don't see. We're not going to talk about.
No. He came back.
He came back.
He came back and he wore a headband like this.
That match never happened. In my mind, that match never happened. What? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Hold on. This is reverse. Sean. Who am I? You're sure.
To be fair, though, the streak versus career storyline, to me, I'm not going to say the greatest storyline of all time, but it's my favorite storyline of all time. I've never felt, till to this day, I've never felt how I felt during that storyline, bro. I don't know how I explain it. You just know. You're a wrestling fan, you know. I don't know. The way I felt about that story, bro, I was so invested into that shit. Like, every week, bro, I could not wait to watch Raw just to see where they're going to go next week with this.
That was the modern day mega powers, bro. That's what that felt like, in a way. I'm going
to tell you guys the one small way that I think they could have made the match better, and it has nothing to do with the belt. It has nothing to do with bell to bell. If Shawn Michaels needed to beat The Undertaker in WrestleMania 26 after the 25 match, which was even better, in order to have a career, you know what? I don't have a career if I can't beat The Undertaker.
Oh, it's so well done.
It was awesome. But here's the deal. Don't put his career on the line as a stipulation. Because even me, we were all adults at this point, but even me who was hoping Shawn Michaels might win, you knew, even if it was 60-40, 70-30, that Undertaker was going to win when Shawn Michaels put his career on the line, because HBK was getting old. You started. I'll tell you my mindset. Just take this ride with me. Literally, as soon as those words came out of Undertaker's mouth, I noticed everything about Shawn Michaels that I probably shouldn't have noticed. When he said, "Put your career on the line," that's when I started noticing Shawn Michaels' hairline. When he said, when he said, "Put your career on the line," that's when I started noticing Shawn Michaels as an older guy.
He wasn't that old, though. He was only 44 when he retired.
I know, but I'm just saying, as soon as he said, "Put your career on the line," I remember that Shawn Michaels wasn't 30 anymore, that he was 44, 45 years old. And it was like, man, I was like, wait a second. Shawn Michaels is going to lose. So I say all that to say this.
But that was his decision.
Shawn Michaels loses the same way he lost, and then he announces his retirement the next night on Raw. Don't put your career on the line, because if you put your career on the line, it takes away from the 50-50. It went from 50-50 when Shawn Michaels loses to, in my mind, as soon as the career announcement was made, it turned into about 65-35.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, but I couldn't disagree. I didn't know who was winning that fucking match. I was 50-50.
You thought Shawn might win?
Yes, I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea what was going to happen, because in my mind, Shawn was still Shawn could wrestle another 5 years on top of his game if he wanted to. So I was like, bro, I was trying to retire. Like, he still can go in the ring. He's not old. I mean, he was old, but he wasn't like, old where you're like, oh, he needs to retire. Like, Shawn could have.
Let me throw something at you, and this is for both of you guys. What felt more real? Now, I already hear what you said. You already said, Malik, that you still were 50-50 about the match, even after the retirement announcement or retirement stipulation, right? But check this out. What felt more real to you? Shawn Michaels with his career on the line, or Triple H against Brock with his career on the line at 29? You almost felt like, I'll talk about mine, and you give me your opinion. Shawn Michaels putting his career on the line, it felt like, okay, Shawn is probably going to lose. Triple H putting his career on the line was almost a joke to me. There was no way Triple H was going to lose that match to Brock Lesnar at 29.
I didn't believe Triple H was going to lose at all. If anything, if there's another one you could have said would have been the end of an era. The Triple H, the Hell in a Cell match, because that was another one people were like, you know what, Triple H might win the Cell match. And even though I didn't believe Triple H was going to win, but that was like the way they built it up. Triple H was like, he didn't want to face, and the way they put it, he's like, I don't want to face you, Taker. I don't want to be the last one to end that era. And Taker was like, calling him out, says Sean's better than you, and he was like, you know what? I have to end you. And he was bringing in that match. I remember the way he was beating him up with the chair and everything. He was brutalizing him. So that one could be another one. But for me, maybe it's just the age gap because this was 10 years ago. So I was only 13 at the time. So I was 13 years old during this time. So, but I was a little older and I was knowledgeable. I wasn't reading dirt sheets and spoilers, so I didn't know the rumors about Sean and wanting to retire. I didn't see that back then. To me, it was 50-50. When he announced that career, when he said you got to put your career on the line, I was like, bro, what the fuck is about to happen? Because Taker can't lose at WrestleMania, but Sean can't retire. I'm saying like this can't happen. Like
I felt like I had a feeling in my stomach that it was over when he announced.
Yeah, like I kind of had the same thing as Sean originally, but I will tell you that as the match went on and the false finishes and this and that, that's when I was like, oh, hang on a second. Yeah. I'm like, this might, like, I kind of changed my mind. Not midway through the match.
That's probably the only.
Like, ooh,
that's probably the only career match to me where I didn't know like even when Ric Flair had his career, like you knew Ric Flair wasn't going to beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Right. The only other argument maybe you could make would be Warrior and Macho Man. That was career versus career. You know what I'm saying? So whoever lost had to, it was
career versus career. It's still 50-50. Yeah.
Right. So 50-50. But like this was one of the career where I was like, I just didn't know what was going to happen, man, because the streak was so important and Taker can't lose at WrestleMania. But Sean's career, I was like, bro, but Sean's not gonna retire. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't reading the dirt sheets ever, so I didn't know like he already had plans to retire because they planned this out for a year. You know what I mean? So he had been thinking about retiring for a minute. So I was like, oh, I had no idea. I didn't know this. So to me, it was split because I'll never forget that promo when he finally accepted the challenge. And the way it's just the way Sean was fucking obsessed with this streak. You know what I'm saying? He was obsessed with the streak and the Rumble and everything. And he finally accepts it and Taker's. As soon as he said, "Hold on," though, I was like, "Oh shit, he about to make him put his career on or something." Because I knew that in logic. But when he put his career on the line and Sean said, "If I can't beat you, I have no career," I was like, "What? I don't know what's gonna happen. What is about to happen?" Because this man's basically saying, "I'm so obsessed with this streak that I'm willing to put my career on the line just to accomplish this, even though I've done everything in the world in wrestling. I've done everything. Nobody can touch me in the ring. I'm the greatest ever to do it in the ring. Nobody can touch me. But the streak."
We're talking about it with this much energy and this much fire just proves how well done it was.
But when he put his career on the line, he said, "If I can't beat you, I have no career." We're talking about Shawn Michaels. What career? What hasn't he done? But he's saying, for me, even when Triple H came back in the backstage and he said, "Sean, you could face anybody at WrestleMania." Sean said, "No, not for me. Ain't nobody else I'm facing besides The Undertaker. I want that streak." So for me,
I remember he said DX doesn't mean anything to me. He was like, "There's nothing more important in my life than this match against." And I was like,
"Well, Triple H was like, you ready to throw DX away?
Right,
everything." You're ready to throw everything. I was like, "Ooh, like that one." I felt that in the heart.
You were like, you felt. I was like, "Bro, I was."
Shit, man.
And then he takes his shirt off and throws his shirt down. I'm like, "What are you?" I'm like,
yeah.
This is crazy.
He's like, you're super kicking referees. You're doing like Triple H. It's fucked up because Triple H had his part in the build too.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
It was super important. Every word that Triple H said.
If you think about it, that was really a 4-year storyline with Taker, Triple H. That was a 4-year storyline right there.
When fucking Shawn Michaels came out, I don't know why I did not see that coming. When he came out from under the ring at the Elimination Chamber, I was like losing.
Oh, great!
I was like, oh man, I was like, it was like wrestling orgasm for me. It was like crazy.
But the wrestling orgasm, to use your words, quickly went away when I realized, like I said again, like you can see the writing on the wall, especially after No Way Out. But it was like, okay, Taker's gonna be so pissed off he's gonna accept the challenge, and then, but you got to put your career on the line. I was like, no. I was like, now this match means so much more to me now. Now it's like my favorite guy of all time, because by this time I had grown up and Shawn Michaels was my favorite of all time. I'm like, my guy's about to retire, bro. Like, it's about to be over.
Yeah, harsh reality.
All good things come to an end, man. All good things come to an end.
Harsh reality. Any more questions?
My point is, heartbreak. Shawn Michaels, the greatest to ever do it. I love him. I wish to God that he blesses me with a chance to shake that man's hand.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels. the greatest in-ring performer of all time. I don't think anybody's gonna debate that. I mean, nobody can. To me, at least, nobody can touch him in the ring. I mean, he was that good. So, let me see. What was this one right here? Name a superstar. We are talking about the superstar that is highly underrated in your opinion.
Underrated. Go ahead, Manny. I got to think about this one.
Oh, mine. I'm just gonna tell you mine, and then I'm just gonna
Ziggler.
Easily Dolph Ziggler. I mean,
Yeah, Ziggler for me.
Dolph Ziggler is good on the mic, good in the ring. He's good at everything, and he's just super underrated to me.
He looks good too.
He's super underappreciated. He can sell very. Oh my god! Do you see that video I made? The Dolph Ziggler oversells?
Bro, he's one of the best. He's arguably one of the best sellers since Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Honestly, I'm not comparing him to Shawn, but he's so good in the ring, and
there's some similarities.
Yeah, there are very similarities, but he's so good. It's almost like he's so good that he's just. It's almost like he's so good that he's so bad in a way. Like he's so good, but the company is like, "Oh, you're so good, but you can't never be, that." You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I got two: Cesaro and Ziggler. Those are my two.
Cesaro and Ziggler are a good one. Cesaro is a really good one, actually.
Cesaro is super underrated, bro. But I think what people, unfortunately see with Cesaro, it's like that. A lot of people think he can't talk. A lot of people think he has no charisma and stuff. And truth be told, I think he has some. Does he have what it takes for me to call him underrated? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him. They need to give us more of him first.
I'm going to throw somebody else out there too, and this is just my opinion. Dolph Ziggler is obviously he's number one to me. I think, and Christian. I'm going to throw Christian out there too. Christian's super underrated to me. I always thought Christian was very good.
Took a while for him to get his, yeah.
Yeah, not appreciated enough. But one guy I think is super underrated, and to me, in my opinion, I believe if this man was as dedicated to the wrestling business as John Cena and all the top guys was, he would have been one of the top 10 greatest ever, and that's Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is very underrated because of the part-time schedule and everything and all that stuff, but Brock Lesnar is the fucking man. The size, the look. This is another one we talked about when Orton won the belt, when Lesnar first won the belt, when he beat The Rock, it felt right. Like, you feel like, oh, he's legit. I'm saying, like, he felt like he was a legit guy to win the belt and beat the champion.
Right.
And if he was as dedicated to the wrestling business, because think of all the things he accomplished in those 2 years. He won King of the Ring. He won the Royal Rumble. He main evented his first WrestleMania against Kurt Angle. He won the belt 3 times already. If he was as dedicated to the wrestling business, if he was as passionate about it, is what I'm saying. If he was as passionate about it as like John Cena was, he would have been one of the top 10 greatest to ever do it, in my opinion.
No argument here. I just don't know if he falls underneath the underrated category. More an underachiever. Underachiever is maybe the right word. I don't know.
I'm saying he's underrated now because of who he is now, because of the schedule, and because of this.
Had a good career, man. Like
you
can't compare Ziggler, Cesaro, and Brock Lesnar. They can't be in the same bucket.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about career-wise. I'm talking about fan bias. I'm talking about how the fans look at it. Fans don't look at Brock Lesnar as being one of the greats because of the schedule he works and because of the maybe control he has with everything. I'm talking about career-wise. Brock Lesnar obviously has a superior career, but underrated as far as the appreciation for the fans. He's underrated as far as appreciation of the fans because the fans don't appreciate him enough because of maybe the part-time schedule he does or the way he wrestles now, because he doesn't wrestle the same now as he did back in 2002, 2003.
Yeah, no.
I think he's underappreciated a lot. He would have been one of the top 10 greatest ever. If he was dedicated to the wrestling business, he would have been top 10 in my opinion.
Yeah, again, no argument here. I just feel like Brock Lesnar, he's had time after time, even before his part-time schedule, like his career was massive success in so many different ways, and it's still going to this day. I mean, for fuck's sakes, we're here at the beginning of this podcast talking about how he could potentially come back and win the Royal Rumble. That's like
you talk about sellers too. Oh my god, the way he said, bro.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. Look, I'm not disputing the fact that he arguably could have been one of the top 10 of all time had he had that desire and passion like the other ones. Absolutely. But I don't think it's underrated. I don't know. I don't think that's don't think that's the right word to describe him. I think maybe underachieved is. I don't even know if that's the right word either. It's like just somebody just didn't want it the same. It's like I don't know, man. It's like Goldberg, same shit. Like Goldberg was in it. Let's be honest, a lot for himself, and I think both of them are interesting because they have pretty similar qualities in that sense. Or,
wrestling,
they're very me-oriented and
they look at wrestling they look at wrestling as a business. They're there to make money, and they're there to do their job.
That's cool.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's cool. I'm not saying anything wrong about that. It's just, you'll never make my Rushmore. And for that reason, you won't be in my underrated. I think it's still, for me, it's Cesaro and Ziggler. And I wanted to mention another one. We mentioned before a superstar that we think should have been a heavyweight champion. For me, also, is Razor Ramon or Scott Hall. Like, I think they could have pulled the trigger on him eventually, especially in WWF. Like, bro, when he was IC title, when he lost that IC title to Diesel, why didn't you have Razor go for a little something higher? Dude, tell me a more over superstar at that point than Razor Ramon.
Razor was that dude, man.
He was that fucking dude, bro. Everybody loved him.
What about you?
Everybody did. Teens, kids, adults, women, everybody loved him.
That's a fact. Underrated.
You might have missed it, Sean. Malik said Lesnar. Malik said Ziggler. And I think you might have said a third one. I don't remember.
Christian, too.
I heard
Christian.
I heard my work was blowing up my phone.
Oh, okay. And I was Cesaro and Ziggler.
Yeah, no doubt. I got you. Underrated. I think one of the most underrated wrestlers probably of all time.
Let's go Inferno.
Yeah, that's true. I would go with I'm thinking back and forth between the two people in my head. You know what? I'll go with Booker T. I think Booker T historically is better than people give him credit for.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying like you're saying underrated as far as nobody ever mentions him as being one of the greats.
Nobody ever mentions him as being one of the greatest to ever do it. And I think Harlem Heat's a Hall of Fame tag team, right? Between Harlem Heat, between him, his single run in WCW, as WCW was on his downswing, between King Booker.
Oh, how great was that?
Which I think was his best work.
Oh, that was amazing.
I think Booker T. I would say Booker T is one of the most underrated guys in history. Booker T.
I like that answer. I'm not mad at that answer. That answer doesn't upset me at all. I'm looking at some
quite a few. I mean, there's, you can make a case for Jake the Snake Roberts.
What about this one right here? Someone who could have been a star. Someone who could have been maybe that star potential. I'm going to give you one. To me, and Sean will agree with me on this, I think. Mm-hmm. I always said that one of the superstars who could have went down as one of the greatest heels ever, Muhammad Hassan. No question in my mind. Muhammad Hassan could have been one of the best heels to draw ever. Obviously, his career got cut short because of circumstances that
he was this close. He was this close.
But Muhammad Hassan had it, bro. The Arabic American character, and he said it in an interview. He's saying that he did an interview with Chris Van Fleet. He said that all the top guys were asking to work with him, from Shawn Michaels to Taker. All the top guys wanted to make money with him because he was.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. That's unbelievable.
He said that when he was there. Remember when he did a feud with Hogan and Shawn Michaels. He did a feud with Taker, Cena, Batista. He's saying that all the top guys were requesting to work with him because they wanted to make money from it.
Yeah, he could have been a world champion too. He had that much heat.
He had that real heel heat, and just oh my god, just imagine this. If this would have went down, this would have been one of the most incredible things ever to me. If he was, like I said, Sean, he was so close. He was right there. He was right there. If obviously with the circumstances that were unfortunate, career ended. But my goodness gracious, SummerSlam 2005 in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, if he would have beat Batista for the world title that night, oh my gosh, that would have, bro, just imagine him beating Batista in the nation's capital, in Batista's hometown, and he wins the world title, and you have the Arabic music play as the Arabic flag comes down, and he's standing there as the champion, and him and Daivari. Bro, the people would have been so. This is right before Hogan and Shawn Michaels were going on too.
Yeah, no doubt. I love it. I think that would have been amazing.
I mean, great. That's heel heat. That's how you get heel heat right there. That's to me. I think he would have been one of the greatest heels ever. I think he had it. To me, he had it. He had that. And like I said, it was unfortunate that his career ended for circumstances that we know about. I'm not going to say, but to me, I was high on him, and he had it to me, bro. Like, you remember the Rumble when he came out during the Rumble, and the fans were bullying him. They jumped him. They jumped this man in the Rumble and threw him out because, like, you got to get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Hassan was on fire.
He had it, bro. He had so much.
He was this close.
So that's mine. Muhammad Hassan could have been a major star for the company. They went a little too far with the gimmick, though. They went a little bit too far with the
I know what you're trying to say, though. It was amazing. Like, he could have been like Sergeant Slaughter 2.0, but even better.
Yeah. And you had somebody, and bro, I think Hassan would have been my guy to me. I think he could have been a legit star.
Someone who could have been a star. That's a tremendous 100% accurate.
So that would
Is
be
he still alive?
Muhammad Hassan?
Yeah. Well, why did his career stop?
Okay, so you know the story?
Oh, okay.
So you want to tell? You want to tell Sean?
No, I don't even know if you want to tell it on the air. It's up to you.
Yeah,
that bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty
bad. Never mind. We'll talk about it later.
It's from what happened was he was an Arabic American character, right? And obviously that was 2005. This was like really not too long after 9/11 happened. So people were still looking at Arabic people as terrorists. And there was a bombing that actually happened in 2005 around the time Hassan was doing the you remember the terrorist angle he did with Undertaker when he had the guys come out in the mask and everything and they jumped Taker in the ring. And
that was the last big deal. That was his moment where things unfortunately changed.
Well, they aired that on SmackDown like right after the bombing had happened. Like the bombing happened like right after.
In a lot of ways, not to cut you off, Malik. So in a lot of ways, it wasn't even his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault. Like it was out of his control, but like the bombing happened, and then they aired that episode of SmackDown, and the network demanded that they take him off television. They requested that they had to take him off television. So it was out of the like the network that they were on told WWE he has to be off television. They can't have him on TV.
Good Lord. Okay.
And he was getting pushed really hard too. Like
because I wasn't watching wrestling for those couple of years. So
he was having a feud with Taker, and they were going to have a match at the Great American Bash, and I think he would have beat the Undertaker that night.
He would have beat the Undertaker, daggone it. He would have
beat Undertaker that night, and he was supposed to face Batista at SummerSlam and beat Batista for the title in DC. So that's why I said he could have been a big star because there were really high hopes for him, but. You know what I'm saying? There's circumstances
stories like that really upset me because it's like you hear so many tales of how people blew their opportunities, like the Mr. Kennedys and things like that. By the way, that's my pick, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, I love Mr. Kennedy. Good pick. Great pick.
But Hassan, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, he was
the right guy at the wrong time.
Yeah, no, but the WWE screwed it up because they should have never aired. They could have edited that out.
It was pre-taped too, so they still aired it. That was pre-taped.
SmackDown wasn't live, so
they should have taken it out, and it ruined his career. Like he never wrestled since. I don't think. Like he's never had. He's a principal now.
No, I'm saying he went to the Great American Bash and lost, and that was it.
Yeah, and he was never seen again on television. That was it. Never seen again. Daivari was still there, but Kennedy's a good one too. Though Kennedy was a great one too.
Yeah, someone who could. That's my pick, by the way, Mr. Kennedy.
Love Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy was great. You got one, Mountie? Are you going?
It's close to be Mr. McMahon's son.
Someone
and they did Hornswoggle.
Could have been a star.
Kennedy's actually a really good pick.
Honestly, that's a great pick. That's
really good.
Yeah, that for me, that's one. Mark Jindrak, maybe another one.
Oh, he
Perhaps.
was this close too.
Oh,
Yeah,
he was so close.
He's gonna be an evolution. That's crazy.
I liked him. I really did.
God, he was this
Um,
close to being an evolution. Ah.
But to be fair, though,
Yeah, but Orton was. You can't say that wasn't a good pick, though, right?
Orton
Like,
was. Or no,
why couldn't have been 5 guys, though? Come on.
he was going to be
right?
replaced. He was going to be replaced with Batista. They were.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, no matter
You could have made it 5 guys, that group.
no matter what the
Mark-
circumstances are, he was this close.
Bro,
This close.
Bro, Jindrak could have been involved in Evolution. They could have made it 5 guys.
Why not
They-
make it 5 guys? That
No, but to be fair though, Triple H didn't like him. That's why he went in. So
yeah,
I
Triple H.
know, but
That's another reason why so many people don't like Triple H. Let me go on record right here on your show because I know everybody. I'm going to claim it in Jesus' name. A million people are going to watch this show, including Triple H. Triple H, I would love to work for you. Okay, I would love to work for you.
same
But
here.
I'm so sick and tired of if you don't like somebody, they don't. I mean, golly, man. Like, oh, you know what? Triple H doesn't like him. Take him off TV, or put him in a tag team with Garrison Cade.
Breakfast Club.
Oh my God!
to be fair, he made somebody's career, but he also hurt somebody's career because he looked out for Batista because they wanted to replace him with Batista, and he was like, "No, Batista is the guy running this group," and we also.
No, but you said it yourself, bro. That's not what it was about. Like they could have, like, okay,
No,
yeah.
but that's part of it though. That's part of it because they wanted Batista in the group, and Vince was like,
I'm hearing you. That was part of it. But if Jindrak was somebody that Triple H liked, he would have made it work.
"Yeah, they could have made it work for sure, no doubt. They could have.
Oh, yeah. Him and Orton as tag team champs, bro. Him and Orton. Woo.
They could have made it 5 guys easily. They could easily
And
made it
you know, Ric Flair was only going to be part time. Ric Flair was basically the manager. He wrestled at some point, but it could have been Jindrak, Batista, H, and Orton, and Ric Flair in their corner. Good God Almighty!
Yeah, like a free bird rule. Oh,
Jesus Christ! I'm getting pissed off just thinking about it.
massive drop kicks and big
What about-
spine busters.
What about this one? What about this one right here? One thing that happened in wrestling that you'll never get over. Something that happened to this day that you're still pissed about that you will never let go. You'll never get over it. Doesn't matter how.
The streak ending by Lesnar.
Really, that's yours. Okay.
Oh, how they fucked over CM Punk.
To be honest though, the streak one doesn't bother me as much as it does everybody else. I don't think Brock was the guy. I don't think Brock should have been the guy that beat the streak, but
Look, the screw job.
yeah.
But I'm not saying I wish it didn't happen. It happened, and I don't know about that. I don't know if I can go on record and say that. But either, you know what I mean? Like, I just mean like there were so many good things that happened out of it. So for me, it's like it's hard to say I wish it didn't happen, but that's not the topic. It's more one thing that happened in wrestling you'll never get over. For me, the screw job is always a tough topic for me. That's got to be my number one, I'd say.
Well, I would imagine.
I'm gonna change the question with your permission, Malik. I'm gonna change it slightly. I'm gonna say one thing. As a matter of fact, there's 2 things for me.
Owen Hart's death. Not bad.
Jeez, no, of course, please. That's Please elaborate on that. Of course, that's number 1.
So obviously, as I read the question again, one thing that happened in wrestling you'll never get over is Owen Hart's death. I mean, for me, that was a tragic that shook the world. It shook the wrestling world.
Full transparency, I cried.
100%. Me too. It was. I just couldn't get. I couldn't get over it then. I'll never get over it. I feel bad. I feel bad for the Hart family. I feel bad for. I feel bad for the entire.
Bro,
I feel bad for the wife. Like, come on, man! Watching that Dark Side of the Ring, I was so sad.
That like split up the family in a lot of ways, man. Like
absolutely, and you can see how it affects her still to this day, bro. Like,
I don't blame her at all. Yeah.
No, like that was their everything, their family and everything. It's just that's the unfortunate part. That's the unfortunate part of life because, like, obviously everybody dies at some point. You still don't know when, but like when a tragic accident like that happens, just like which is like unexpected, and you can't explain it. You know, there's no like for me. Sometimes that's what some people they question my belief in religion and well, why would God allow something like that to happen? And the truth is, I don't really have an answer for it. But like there's just some things that happen where it's just like there's really no answer. That was one of them for me. I have no idea why that had to happen.
The same.
I
That's
don't-
how I felt. That's how I felt about
Eddie.
That's how I felt about Eddie Guerrero when he passed away. Because like when you look at the backstory, there were people saying that he had a heart problem, and there were people who were saying like he felt like he knew something was wrong with him, but he never spoke up about it. And to me, I was always like, damn, bro, like, if he would have said something, or he would have got help, like he could have be alive. You know what I'm saying? He could still be alive too. The Benoit one too. That's still one of the biggest conspiracies to me. The Benoit one is tough for me, bro. It's like, bro, like there's so many conspiracies about it, but like you'll never, despite whether you want to believe, whether you think he killed himself or killed somebody, or you don't think you believe it, you'll never know what happened that night
Nope.
because the people who were in that house they're all not alive, and you'll
Exactly.
never really know what happened that night. Because whether you believe he did what he did or he didn't do what he did, you'll never know. Nobody will ever know. It's based off a conspiracy, and that's one thing too. That's one I'm like, man, I wish, but
and let's be honest. Sometimes things get covered up in this life, and how do we know? I mean, look, I'm not saying this is what happened at all, but like, how did we know he didn't owe money to some very bad people, and they just covered up, make it look like, you know what I'm saying? Like anything's possible. Anything is possible. To me, in my mind, what wasn't possible that night is actually what happened. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then you could see like the way his son David,
okay, so
like he still loves him. Like, what the fuck?
I've never seen. Well, that's his dad. Yes, I mean, obviously, I've never seen the footage.
No, but bro, Malik, think about that for a minute, man. Your father killed your other side of the family. Like, you should.
But you have to think about it differently though. Like, if that's somebody that he probably did. He doesn't look at his dad as that person. It's hard.
I understand that. I understand that, but for me, like, how you can just try to get into the business. I think he's trying to get into business, and I'm interested. Don't get me wrong, but it takes a lot of courage and to walk away from what happened, and to most people would just be like, I don't want to fucking know anything about wrestling ever again. So I don't know what he's striving to do, if he's trying to create a career so people look at the name differently, and good for him for trying. Don't get me wrong. Again, it's just, I think it's interesting because he has a very similar belief, I guess, to me, where I'm like, well, I can't picture him doing that. It's almost like he doesn't believe that he did that, maybe. Yeah. And he's allowed, because for me, I'm a fucking fan. I don't know these guys at all, but I to this day, I'm like, I don't understand how he could do that. It doesn't make sense from everything, all the stories, this and that. Like, and it's one thing to just flip on a dime, you're on drugs, this, whatever, like you're in a different, but he wasn't on that. And you can argue the CTE, the brain damage over and over and over, but like, it's not like he had like a close call or like, I don't know. It didn't seem like he had any massive warning signs. It's not like he, went to the store one day and like fucking strangled a woman or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it was like there was just no mention of it ever. And then all of a sudden, boom, that's what happened. I'm like, what? There's something weird there. Like, for me, is it too far? Is it so far-fetched that, you watch a movie one day and then that's the twist at the end, that he actually didn't do it, but somebody, actually, he owed something to somebody very important, and they came in and they did everything and made everything seem, hey, we're going to text Chavo. Oh, who the fuck's Chavo? Okay, we're going to text him this, whatever. They're going to make it look exactly like that. No evidence, no fingerprints, the whole deal. Professional job. You telling me that's not an option? I hope nobody kills me for bringing that up, because I'm, bringing up old shit. But I'm just saying anything is possible, and I really hope that. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about it. It's a tricky situation.
What about you? You said you wanted to reverse that question, Sean. What was your question?
All right. Well, let me backtrack a little bit and say, obviously, I was going to go a different route. Obviously, Owen's death, Eddie's death, Wwe's situation, those are real life situations. I was kind of going more like storyline based stuff. But let me start by saying that 2 wonderful lives lost, and the jury's out, obviously, about the Benoit situation. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. I'll just say that it was an ugly situation, and only God knows. So I'll just leave it at that.
I probably should have said that. I probably said too much. If I mysteriously disappear, you guys know what happened.
You're not going to mysteriously disappear. So here we go. Let's bring a little bit more. Let's bring some joy back into this thing real quick. I'm going to go with two things that didn't happen in wrestling that you'll never get over. That's what I'm going to go with. WrestleMania 7 Hogan Warrior rematch. And Bret Owen, God rest his soul, he's on my brain now. Bret HBK WrestleMania 13. Those are two things that didn't happen in wrestling that I'll never get over.
What about Flair versus Hogan too? That's another one that never happened.
Flair Hogan at 8. It should have been the main event. I've been hearing. Oh, go ahead.
Or Austin and Hogan instead of Rock and Austin. That could have been Austin and Hogan at WrestleMania 18.
True. I'll start with Hogan and Flair. A lot of people say that they did house shows together, garden shows, and it didn't really sell that well. That's why they kind of 80 the WrestleMania 8. I've also heard the steroid scandal. Hogan almost had to go away because of the steroid scandal, which is why they didn't put the belt on him. I don't know. I think we got almost as good of a match in '94 at Bash at the Beach. So it doesn't really break my heart so much. You know what I'm trying to say? Hogan, Austin not happening breaks my heart. But historically, I think HBK Hitman WrestleMania 13 rematch would have been epic. I think Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 7 rematch would have also been epic. I think those two matches not happening are very disappointing for all wrestling fans.
Well, you can blame Shawn Michaels for that rematch not happening.
Yes, that's true.
Lost a smile. I would say for me, two things that I'll never get over. One of them is one of the greatest build-ups ever in the match. Fucking bummed. Hulk Hogan versus Sting.
Okay.
In WCW. One of the greatest build-ups of all time. The build-up was incredible. The match, dud. And I will say, to this day, I will never get over. I'll never understand that Hell in a Cell finish with The Fiend and Seth Rollins. Never will I ever get over that. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in pro wrestling. We have a match.
The chairs.
That's called Hell in a Cell. The era that we grew up in, I've seen motherfuckers get thrown off the cell. I saw a man get thrown off the cell and chokeslam through the cell on the same day, on the same night, in the same match, and finish the match. But you're telling me this man takes a sledgehammer and bashes it through a couple of chairs and the match can't continue?
No contest. A no contest in Hell in a Cell.
This is a Hell in a Cell. It's a Hell in a Cell. There's no rules. What do you mean? Why can't it devalued the Hell in a Cell match so much?
It did.
We come from an era where the Hell in a Cell match, you saw bloodbaths in the Hell in a Cell wars, where anytime, you know the feeling. Anytime you're watching a Raw and they're saying you're gonna be in a Hell in a Cell, you got excited. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell match.
We used to.
Yeah. Nowadays, Hell in a Cell, you're like, Hell in a Cell, whatever. They do it every year now. But back then, when they announced Hell in a Cell, you're like, oh well, okay, yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm saying Hell in a Cell. When Triple H and Shawn had their feud and they had that big brawl on Raw, and Eric Bischoff said, "You're gonna have a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood." You're like, "Oh shit! Like this about to be good." I'm saying Hell in a Cell match. I'm saying it's gonna go down. When they did the 6-man Hell in a Cell, and you're like, "What the fuck? Well, all these guys gonna be inside the Hell in a Cell? How this is gonna work?" I'm saying it was incredible. But nowadays, Hell in a Cell, like, oh, Hell in a Cell. When they put anybody in Hell in a Cell, fucking, they'll put Hornswoggle versus James Ellsworth in a Hell in a Cell match for anything. So that's one thing I'll never get over. That to me, one of the most poorest bookings WWE's ever done. Because you're talking about a Hell in a Cell match.
That was an atrocity.
It has no rules. This is a match that has no rules in it. You see, like I said, we saw a man. If there's any Hell in a Cell match that could have been stopped, it was the Undertaker Mankind match. You could have stopped that match that night, and fans would have been understandable. Okay, you got thrown off the cell, chokeslam through the cell, but that to me is just one of the dumbest things. I'll never get over that. I'll never accept that. The streak ending. Another one too. Another thing, and this may surprise you guys too. Another thing I think WWE missed the ball with that I don't want to say I'll never get over it, but I think I'll say is as you were mentioning, Sean, you said things that happened that should have happened. I'll say it was a missed opportunity is John Cena heel turn. Definitely a missed opportunity.
Oh boy,
John Cena heel turn. And there were two ways I think it could have happened that would have made it really good. One of them is you could have had John Cena join the Nexus when the Nexus was around. So when the Nexus came around, they were going after Cena. They got extremely hurt after John Cena beat them at SummerSlam. But I think a way you could have revived them is that you could have had John Cena legitimately not join the Nexus like he did when he joined the Nexus and he was forced to be in the group. Legitimately join the Nexus as the leader. Become in the Nexus. That would have instantly revived him. Cena's part of the Nexus. John Cena, Barrett, all those guys. The next they would have ran shit. They would have tore everything apart. They would have instantly ran things and it would have crushed people. It would have crushed people because it would have been unexpected because he joins the group that has been beating him, that's been targeting him for all this time, and now he aligns himself with him. Another one would have been and I got to kudos to Kyron for this because this was all Kyron's idea. John Cena being the one to end the streak at WrestleMania. John Cena taking the streak of The Undertaker and cheating to beat the streak. To beat the streak in the match. So Cena turns heel during the match, and he cheats to beat the streak. First off, people already hate John Cena as it is. John Cena ends the streak. Come on. You can't tell me.
It ends the streak because he cheated? That would have been amazing. You
thought the crowd would have been shocked at WrestleMania when Brock did it. That night, kids would have been shocked. Adults would have been shocked. Women, everybody would have been – you wouldn't know how it felt. And there's no coming back from that. And
super fast.
You talk about the streak. Because Undertaker, I mean, I think I can speak for it. Undertaker is probably the most respected wrestler ever. And him ending the streak and cheating to beat the streak, oh my goodness. And imagine if Taker actually retired for that. So now, not only that, but ended the career of Taker too. Taker retires after that too. Oh, greatest heel turn. That would have been up there with Hogan, Back to the Beach.
Yes, that would have been a Hogan-style NWO turn, yes.
Because that would have been like, people from my kids would have been crushed. And you can even people like you who don't like John Cena, you still couldn't root for him because he ended the streak.
Right.
He ended the streak. It's like, bro, I can't. Like, even though he's a heel, he's now the heel.
No, you're right. You're hitting the nail right on the head, man.
So that would have been huge, man. That would have been huge. So, I'm reading some of these comments real quick. Let's see, Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels. That would have been a great. That was a dream match that was supposed to happen. That didn't get to happen, unfortunately.
HBK Rock as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the story why that didn't happen too? That didn't happen because
I heard somebody put the kibosh on it.
No, they said that Rock refused to work with him because DX used to bully him back. They tried to stop. Yeah. I heard that they tried to stop his push when he first came, and Rock never appreciated that. And he said
by that time, Rock was the big deal, and actually, Shawn Michaels working with Rock would have been better for Shawn than Rock, and Rock was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah, and he said they didn't. Another was Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles. That would have. Oh goodness, that match would have been amazing. Somebody said Goldberg beating the Fiend. Never get over that. I understand that too. That one.
So stupid.
That one was another one too. That wasn't like up there to me with like the Fiend and stuff, but that one was like really like bullshit.
No, I agree. That was so stupid. Just like it'll be stupid when Goldberg wins on next Sunday.
Let's hope not. I mean,
it sure seems like that.
To be honest, though, I mean, the more I think about it, like if the Fiend wins, you know, him and Goldberg do have that little history. So Goldberg wins and the Fiend wins. I guess it would give Goldberg, the Fiend his win back. But I don't know if I don't want to see that because Goldberg had to win the belt, and if I don't want to see that, and we just heard Drew McIntyre, if anything. So, all right, guys, appreciate you guys for being on here. It's always been a pleasure. It's always good chatting, talking about wrestling with you guys. We've been on here for 2 hours. We had a 2-hour chat again. Me and Mounty were on here for 2 hours last time, chatting about.
Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure, brother.
Last time, before we get off here, Sean, I want to ask you because we did this on the last chat. Name a movie that you like.
This is how we're on for another half an hour.
No, this is how you end it right here. Just give me your one answer. Name a movie that you like that people may not expect. So name a movie that people may not expect that you like, but you like it. If you got one movie, just one movie, if you could think of one. I said mine last week. I said Mean Girls.
Sean is a pensive thinker. You know, he doesn't like to talk out of his ass. He likes to analyze. He
gotta be a good
goes
answer.
to the library.
That's how we're ending the podcast. It's gotta be a good answer.
Look at you. You think you know me now. Look at you. I see you over there.
That's how we're ending the podcast. It's gotta be a good answer, man. I said mine to make it a little easier. I said mine was Mean Girls. Love Mean Girls. One of the greatest movies I've ever seen.
I'm gonna go with a movie that I really enjoy, and I'm almost embarrassed that I enjoy, and it's something that's way outside this wrestling / hip hop / urban / swaggy kind of thing I got going. The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh wow!
Wow!
I enjoyed that movie.
Really?
Yep.
You've seen it multiple times. You're saying?
I'm saying I've seen it multiple times, and I don't want to keep repeating that because it's very embarrassing.
Wow! Alrighty. Well, now we know Sean likes the worst product. That's I wouldn't expect it. I would have never guessed that. I would have never said that.
Something that's off the rails. I mean, I could have been like, oh, there's nothing. I like I like Friday After Next, Boys in the Hood.
Right.
You want shocking?
By the way,
you want shocking? I'll give you shocking.
we did a list too. I gotta those out there too. Mountie is a real OG because he's seen all the black movies. We were throwing out names of the black movies. Like, oh, of course I've seen it. Why haven't I seen it? Of course I've seen it.
I saw all of them except for Higher Learning.
Higher Learning, yeah. We gotta go watch that.
Higher Learning was pretty good. Yes, it was.
Yeah, you gotta go watch them. But I was naming like booty call, like deep ones. I was like, he's not gonna that one. He's like, of course I've seen it. Dave Chappelle, all these people in these movies. I'm like, oh.
And I'll further embarrass myself by saying on a TV side, I am now after discovering it on HBO Max. I'm a big fan of a show I never watched when it was really out, but post production, Friends.
Friends, my man.
The man is I respect more. That is my second favorite show of all time. I don't care anybody says it's a great show. I will fight anybody on it. Friends is an absolute great show. Yeah. One of the best sitcoms I've ever watched.
Yes. I never watched it when it was out, but I watched it.
I never watched it when it was out, and after a while, bro, I'm telling you, it's a great show. Some people don't understand it, but you have to watch it to really. I tell people you have to watch the seasons to get into it. Once the seasons pick up, bro, it's a great. The stories and everything.
You could watch 10 episodes in a row easily.
Yeah. It's an awesome show, and I'm very glad I discovered it. I discovered it 10 years too late, but I discovered it.
It's a great. Have you watched all the seasons already?
I watched every single episode.
Hey.
It's a great show.